At this time, I'd like to call to order the March 4th Nashville Town Council meeting. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we invite you to this town council meeting to lead us and guide us and give us wisdom to make the right decisions for all the citizens of Nashville. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. The first item on our agenda is the minutes from our February 4th meeting. Did you find any corrections that needed to be made to those minutes? Council, any corrections? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Being no corrections, I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is public comments. If you have signed up to speak tonight and it's about an item on our agenda, would you please wait until that time and we'll allow you to speak then? Any questions about that? If there's anybody that needs to speak and it's not about one of our items on our agenda, you may please come forward at this time. Okay, I think they're all about items on our agenda. Let us move on to old business. The Project Sprout rezoning has been removed from our agenda for tonight, so let's move on down to B, which is the core plan. Coy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, as you know, we've been working with the NC Department of Commerce on the CORE project for over the past year. CORE stands for Creating Outdoor Recreation Economies. And tonight we're joined by Bruce Naglin, who is with the Department of Commerce Rural Economic Development Division to present the findings of that CORE program and the strategic plan. And I will turn it over to Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.
There we go. Well, good evening, Mayor Brown and Commissioners. Good to see you again. It's Kate. As Corey said, he already told you who I am, so I'm not going to repeat that. But I guess if we could go, let's see, Randy's getting it up on the computer here. There we go. Next slide. There we go. Good. Okay. In the fall of 2022, the North Carolina Department of Commerce Main Street and Rural Planning Center announced a technical assistance program called Creating Outdoor Recreation Economies, or CORE. It offers planning and asset development to leverage outdoor recreation services across the state of North Carolina to bolster local economic vitality. In November of 22, Nashville applied to participate in the new program and formalized that participation with a memorandum of understanding which you adopted on December 5th in 2023. The strategic plan has an implementation horizon of 5 years, and the Rural Economic Division of North Carolina Commerce will provide ongoing assistance. Next slide, please. The definition of outdoor recreation really is about it's some level of intentional physical exertion that occurs in nature-based environments. So we're not talking baseball, hockey, any of those kind of athletics. We're not really talking about athletics. So parks, generally, are kind of, while they're adjacent to what we're doing, they're not the core, no pun intended, part of what we're doing. Next slide, please. The outdoor recreation economy is really all those things associated with outdoor recreation activities, including outfitters and guide services and hospitality and food service even, and travel-oriented businesses and gear designers and manufacturers. Since this is an economic development plan, we would hope that at some point we can develop some other strategies designed to recruit some gear designers and manufacturers into the town and county. Next slide. North Carolina's outdoor recreation economy is actually pretty big. We don't think about it that way, but it added $16.1 billion in total outdoor recreation economic impact 2 years ago. 145,000 direct jobs statewide in 2023, and resulted in $7.7 billion in wages and compensation for North Carolina workers. So it's not a small, insignificant process. Next slide, please. Speaking of the process, the program focuses on activities communities can do to increase tourism, encourage small business development, position communities to attract outdoor gear manufacturing industries, plan for outdoor recreation asset and infrastructure development, enhance quality of life improvements for residents. Next slide. The core work group met 5 times between May and November of 2024, at which time the members reviewed the implementation plan and made a recommendation that the Board of Commissioners adopt, hopefully tonight. Next slide. The 13 core work group members were very active and dedicated through the whole process, and their names are listed on the screen. I'm not sure if I saw any of them here. I know Sean participated.
Okay.
Don't see anybody else. You see anybody else? Hey, Sean. Have them stand up, but I don't think there's anybody here. So, except for Coy back there.
Kate.
And Kate.
And Kate, yes, of course, Kate. Next slide, please. So we reviewed the town's existing plans, including the Nashville's comprehensive plan from 2021, the Downtown Nashville Economic Vitality Study from 2019, the Nashville Parks and Recreation Master Plan from 2022, the Bicycle Pedestrian Plan from 2023, the Municipal Service Plan from 2022, as well as the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Governments Community Economic Development Strategy, or CEDS. So, next slide. You got it. The Nashville Outdoor Recreation Asset Map highlights publicly controlled properties and federal, state, and local levels. So that's what that's about. That's the map. And Coy mentioned to me yesterday, I think it was, late yesterday, that one of the commissioners, okay, he didn't say, so he was protecting you, but I made some assumptions. But as I said, one of the commissioners noted that on the map up by Stony Creek, I don't have a little clicker, up by the park, there was a label saying J.S. Glover Park, which is wrong, and that's the wrong location. But I checked with our GIS guy, and he said that that was really embedded in the base layer map. And we looked at some different things and this and that, and he couldn't get it out, so he tried to smudge it a little bit. So that's about as best as we could do at this point. And what I suggested to Coy is, and to y'all, is that it might be something, maybe Randy, I didn't talk to him, but talks to the county GIS folks and at least see if there's a way, because Coy said that he's seen it on some other maps as well. So it had to do with Nashville. So anyway, I just wanted to say that I will replace that map and the one that you saw with a kind of smudged out one. But I just wanted to mention that it didn't go unheard. So anyway, but some of the major outdoor recreation assets in Nashville that you can see on the map is Stony Creek. That's the thin blue line on the map. Stony Creek Environmental Park. The sewer outfalls for potential greenways. It also provides good access to Stony Creek, the flood buyout area, and the recent purchases equaling about 78 acres of property with the lots to work with to transform Nashville into a trail destination, which was really satisfying to see. Well,
Too far?
It worked when it was up here.
I think it's back to you.
you're doing a fine job. So,
Were you pushing the red button?
No, I thought you were letting me control it. Oh, yeah.
Just so you can pull things out of the map.
Oh, okay. So what I was mentioning is right about there, there's a little faded little label on there that says J.S. Glover Park that I'm sure everybody used to go to years ago. I'm making a joke because it's not J.S. Glover. It's J.W. But anyway, let's move on to the next slide. There we go. The economic positioning statement describes where you want your outdoor recreation economy to be in the next 5 to 10 years. Next slide. This statement was developed by the work group. The implementation plan, which we'll review in a moment, will help achieve this vision. When we're finished with the presentation, we will be asking you to consider adopting the implementation plan as well as the report itself, which includes this economic positioning statement. And the statement is, where outdoor recreation meets community, discover the original Nashville, where our network of trails leads you to fishing, splashing, playing, and dining. From our agricultural roots and heritage to natural wonders, come explore our backyard. And it's just it's a delightful, I was just delighted to do this project because I didn't realize Nashville had so many outdoor assets to it. So it's really great to see. Anyway, we can go on to the next one. There we go. And now we'll head on to the to review the implementation plan. Next slide. And this slide shows the process for incremental economic growth, from mission to vision to strategy, goals, objectives, actions, projects, and tasks. In this plan, there are 3 strategies, 6 goals, 16 objectives, and a number of suggested actions, projects to achieve those objectives and goals. Next slide. To respect everyone's time, we will be presenting a higher level implementation plan with just the strategies, goals, and objectives. Leave the details to staff, right? So strategy 1 is outdoor infrastructure, where outdoor recreation meets community. Goal 1 is to incorporate outdoor recreation with the community, and the objectives are to maintain a work group that meets regularly and is dedicated to advancing the goals of this plan. Establish townwide trail, minimum 5 miles, and greenway system, the Nashville Trail Network, with connections to residential neighborhoods, local amenities, and businesses. And to increase Stony Creek's navigability to Rocky Mount and connections to the Nashville Trail Network. Next slide. Still on goal 1, incorporating outdoor recreation with the community. The objectives are activate Stony Creek Environmental Park, the 78-acre parcel and 30-acre parcel as part of a trail and greenway system, and also to develop infrastructure to enhance bicycle and pedestrian trips. Goal 2 is to enhance marketing and communication and branding to create a sense of place for outdoor recreation in Nashville. Strategy 2, communication and activation, network of trails. Goal 3, establish and update development and street design policies and standards to promote walkable new development and capital projects. The objectives are to encourage pedestrian activity and economic development, prepare downtown Nashville to host community events, expand internet service throughout the town. Next page, next slide. Goal 4 is to create gathering spaces and activities to attract younger people to Nashville. The objective is, or the next couple of objectives are to identify potential public-private spaces in commercial downtown area for events and activities, and encourage entrepreneurs to start outdoor recreation-related businesses. Next slide. Strategy 3 is economic impact, our agricultural roots and heritage. Goal 5 is to activate and preserve historic and agricultural assets. The objectives are to promote tourism, farming, and culture-related businesses within the town. Improve economic impacts of existing in-town and town-sponsored festivals, cultural, historical, and tours by at least 5% annually. and to promote economic growth and vitality of downtown. And still on strategy 3, goal 6, develop Nashville and Nash County as an ideal location for outdoor recreation product manufacturing. Working with the Nash County Economic Development, recruit 1 new business annually to relocate, expand, and cultivate 4 new startups businesses over the next 4 years in the outdoor recreation sector. Sounds easy to do, but that's going to be tough. One of the toughest ones to put together. And also to encourage entrepreneurs to start outdoor recreation-related businesses and manufacturing in Nashville. So I'd like to reiterate that this is a 5-year plan. My colleagues and I will be following up and providing ongoing guidance and assistance. We are requesting that the board adopt the Nashville Creating Outdoor Recreation Economic Strategies and Strategic and Implementation Plan, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. And also, just real quick, it's not in your presentation because I forgot to put it in there, but because you've gone through this process, there's also some implementation funding we get from the EDA, the Economic Development Administration. Thank you, sir. And because they're helping to sponsor this plan. And some of that has to do with some design work. It's all through the UNC system, colleges at UNC Greensboro, NC State, UNC Chapel Hills, NC Growth, and East Carolina University as well. And one of those has to do, in here there was something said about enhancing the events and festivals and all those kinds of things. They can actually come into town and help look at what you have in those effects and go on and help strengthen them and help monitor them and help them become more successful as they go along. But anyway, that's something Coy and I will talk about a little bit more, and then he'll report back. But anyway, any questions
Y'all
that you
have any
have?
questions for Bruce?
Any answers? That's always good too.
If not, Coy, did you have anything else to add? Okay, if not, do I hear a motion to adopt this core plan for the town of Nashville?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Motion carries, approval carries.
Mayor, if I may, I do have a question. The funding that you mentioned, is that state funding or federal funding?
Federal. And
Will
it's,
that be, do you think that's going to be tampered with our current administration?
so far, there hasn't been any evidence of that. It's not really, there's no cash exchanged. It's contracts between the state and, Commerce and the universities. So those contracts have already been, they've been implemented and all that. So hopefully it's a go. So it should be good to go as far as we know.
Okay.
Thank you so
I
much,
appreciate it.
Bruce.
Thank
We
you all. We'll
appreciate
see you
it.
soon.
The next item on our agenda is our public safety ordinances. Lieutenant Shockley.
How are y'all doing this evening?
Good, thank you.
So we'll be reviewing 3 ordinances that we're proposing. These ordinances have been sent to Emily, our town attorney, and reviewed. This year we worked very closely. The Blooming Festival, it's upon us. And one of the things in the past that we've gone back and forth with the Chamber of Commerce with issues is they prohibit dogs within their festivities and their special event permit. However, law enforcement has no way to enforce it. Now, we're not looking to enforce no dogs. However, when an officer asks you to remove your dog, if they don't comply, we have no basis to continue pursuing. And it's the Chamber's wishes that we as a town do something about that. That is the special events animals prohibited. I've talked with Coy. This is specific to only the Blooming Festival. Coy does host some events where it is dog friendly. I'm a dog lover myself. It's not my intentions to keep dogs out of town. It's just the Blooming Festival itself. We'd prefer that no dogs come within the festivities parameters. The second one that applies only to the Blooming Festival is the face coverings. This does not exclude like a medical mask such as you're wearing. That is completely appropriate, allowed. What we're trying to prohibit is ski masks, full face coverings. We've had incidents in the past where people who were involved in shootings were inside the festival where cameras were placed, and you can't ID someone with a full face covering. In a family-friendly environment, that we don't really see a place for that. We don't want to restrict people wearing masks for medical reasons or for their own safety. By no means. This is just for full face coverings. And then the third one is not specific to the Blooming Festival. It is year-round, 24/7, 365, and that is the prohibiting of carrying a firearm, open carrying, while intoxicated. The North Carolina state standard is .08. Believe it or not, there is no North Carolina law that prohibits someone from being on downtown Washington Street carrying a firearm with above a .08 BAC. However, if you have your concealed carry permit, if you're drinking at all, you can't carry a firearm. Roanoke Rapids has implemented this, not something that I hope we run into, but when we were going through the proposal of ordinances, I felt that was necessary to include in there in case law enforcement encounters someone that's completely intoxicated and has no business with a firearm. Those are the three that we're proposing. I think we have to propose it tonight, and then we have to circle back around on it in another meeting as well. And I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Any questions?
Mine is just a comment on the face covering. Although we're saying it's specific to the Blooming Festival, we only say festival or event to which the section applies. So do we want this to be for all festivals and events, or do we want this
I
specific?
think for this one, in the final draft, we had made it specific to the Blooming Festival. That was its original intentions.
Okay. In our draft, it says for whichever festival it applies to, but it doesn't tell you which festival that is.
That's something I think we can circle back around on and get clarification on. I'm not opposed either way. If it's the winter months, I don't want to prohibit people from being
Right.
warm, however. It's just the Blooming Festival in the past. I think at this point, it's a 50-50 even keel. Everyone that's been involved has been wearing a full face covering, and it makes it extremely hard for law enforcement to identify someone when they're wearing a full face covering. But we don't want to exclude medical masks by any means.
Any questions? If not, thank you so kindly. Do I hear a motion to vote to adopt the ordinance subject to confirmation vote at a second meeting?
Move to adopt.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so kindly. The next item on our agenda is the ordinance 2025, the Eastpoint home rezoning. Sean?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As always, it's a pleasure to speak to you and the board in the wells of the House of the Chamber. What we have before us is rezoning ordinance 22502 for residential conditional zoning district. Mr. Mark McCloskey with Eastpoint Home is requesting 11 acres out of a 34-acre tract be rezoned from A1 to residential conditional zone district. That is off Southside Drive in the town's ETJ. The purpose of rezoning will be a request to allow the owner development to develop a multi-family residential apartment on the property. The applicant has hired Mr. Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering to present his conditional rezone application. If you turn to page number 151 in your agenda packets, you can see your application that Mr. Mikowski and Kevin Varnell from Stocks Engineering did submit to the town. As always with our rezoning applications, the applicant must answer questions to the town, describe how the rezoning request is consistent with the town Nashville comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, and any other official plan that may be applicable. The applicant did say the proposed request to rezone the multifamily is consistent with the future land use plan, which identifies this property as a high-density residential. Explain how the rezoning request will update the existing ordinance if there are any inconsistencies with the town Nashville comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, or any other official plan that is applicable. The applicant did state that this process proposed request will rezone the property to multifamily, but it will not be consistent with our land use plan or zoning ordinance. Explain why the rezoning request would be appropriate, beneficial, and in the general public's interest of the area sought to be rezoned. The applicant did state the town of Nashville needs more housing options that are affordable to town employees, teachers, and singles. With the current housing market, most of the new homes being built are not affordable to the local public service or single-income households. Explain what the rezoning request will be adhesive effective adjoining property owners and alter the character of the area. The applicant did state that the proposed request is consistent with the future land use plan, which took into account the character of the local neighborhood and determined that high density would be in harmony with the neighborhood. The current town of Nashville street design can accommodate a significant amount of traffic and certainly the minimum amount that will be produced by this development. Lastly, briefly explain the accessibility and impact adequate public facilities, service, fire and safety, infrastructure, parks and recreation, stormwater drainage, and topography, etc. that is currently available on the subject property. The number of units proposed for this proposed project will not be placed and undue a burden on public services, emergency response, infrastructure, parks, or drainage. The current plan proposes fire hydrants and infrastructure, playgrounds and community spaces. Stormwater will be treated on site facilities placed to reduce the post-development runoff to equal pre-development conditions. If you look at page 154, the applicant did submit pretty much out of that tract, 11 acres they are looking at to develop. Page 155 shows a pre-site plan of what the applicant is looking to do. If you turn to page 156, that's where we can begin our general report. As we always state, we know that U.S. County, not County City Council, has done your due diligence reading the entire general report, so we will just skip through the main part so we can get to the public hearing session tonight and also hear from the applicant and Mr. Varnell. As we stated, this is residential, conditional residential rezone of RZ 2025-01. The applicant is Mr. Mark Mikowski out of Eastpoint's home, out of Jacksonville, North Carolina. It is 11 acres out of 34-acre tract they're looking to rezone to our RCZD district. If you look north of the property, it is A1. South of the property is R10. East of the property is A1, and west is A1 and multifamily. The existing zoning is A1. The A1 district is defined as 1 to provide land for future development while permitting continued agricultural uses until such time that development is appropriate. It is assumed that appropriate wells and septic tanks will be utilized until such time as municipal water and sewer is available. The district situated primarily in the town's ETJ district. They are asking for our RCZD district. The purpose of the residential conditional district is to provide for unified residential developments that accomplish the purpose of applicable regulations to an equal or higher degree than where such regulations are intended to control development or individual lots, and to promote economical and effective land use, improve levels of amenity, appropriate and harmonious varieties, creative designs, and a better environment. This district shall be located in such manner as to be compatible with the character of existing developments of surrounding properties to ensuring that the continued conservation of building values and encourage the most appropriate use of the land. As we stated earlier, our 2021 Nashville Comprehensive Plan does state this property as high-density residential. Our high-density residential states for 9 to 13 dwelling units per acre. Residential uses include single families, subdivisions, townhomes, multifamily development. Contextual residential serving uses shall be allowed if they match the context of the existing residential development. The preferred uses in our high density are small single lot detached homes, single family attached homes, townhouses, and multifamily. Some things we need to consider when we're looking at our high density residential according to our 2021 comp plan is parking should be hidden from the right of way to the extent possible to mitigate its visual impact. Promote rooftop amenities for multifamily development for additional amenity space. Workforce houses should be encouraged to provide expanding housing opportunities when possible. Consider visual transaction of residential use to ensure a contextual grade of use. Stone, brick, similarity, masonry materials should be used. And as we stated, the applicant is requesting only one use in the conditional zoning, which is apartments for what he's asking for. Description of the property: this property is owned by Louisa R. McBeth, ETAL, located off Southside Drive. Its primary zone A1. They are asking for the CZRD district. The property does have road frontage off Southside Drive, but the developer would have to carry the road onto the property. We actually stop at the stub out dead end. It'll be up to the developer to carry it into the lot, and I believe the developer, Mr. Varnell, will be able to give more information on that during their part of the presentation. 158, if you look at that page, you see that this property is A1, as we stated earlier. If you look at your second diagram right under that one, you'll see this property is high-density residential. Page 159, the project's history. Eastpoint LLC is the applicant requested rezoning of 11 acres of the above said location. The rezone application was received on February 14, 2025. Public hearing notice letters were mailed out to approximately 78 property owners within a 500-foot radius on February 5th, 2025. Public hearing notice was posted on the town's website on February 7th. The rezoning sign was posted on the property February 5th where photos were taken. Please see the photos below this to see them. Legal notice was advertised in the Nashville Graphic on February the 13th, 20th, and 27th for the planning board meeting, and also for the February 25th for the town council's March 4th meeting. If the planning board did reach a decision that night, which they did, this is why we're here. The front door of the town hall was posted on February 5th. The front door of the Harold D. Cooley Library was posted on February 7th. Subject property is not located within a floodplain. Such property is located within the WS4 NSW watershed district. Under current watershed protection ordinance standards, the amount of impervious surface allowed in the WS4 protected area for non-residential projects is 36, no curb and gutter, 24% if curb and gutter is used. The subject property is located in Tar River Reservoir, Tar River Watershed, Lower Saponi Creek Subwatershed. This property can be provided water and sewer through the town of Nashville by adding an extension up south side to this development. Town of Nashville 2021 Comprehensive Land Use Plan has the property slated for high-density residential. The Nash County Land Development Plan adopted in 2022 has the property slated as municipal growth. The Town of Nashville Planning Board did hold a public hearing on this matter on February 25th, 2005. During that hearing, 5 citizens from the general public did speak during the public comment section, and we will go over what those citizens did say. Ms. Donna Outbridge, a resident at 920 Brake Street, as there were going to be still one exit out of Brake Street, are the plans for a future exit, and she wanted to learn more about what the tax credits are, pretty much what this development is using. Ms. Angela T. Freeman, a resident of 1003 Brooklyn Boulevard, was inquired if there will be a manager on the property at all times. She also informed the planning board that she has to pick up trash at the section of woods in front of her dwelling. She's also wanted to know if the management company, who would they rent from, and the applicant did let them know that this is fair housing that they have to abide by, so they're going to be open market to rent to anybody. But I will let Mr. Mikowski and Mr. Varnell speak more on that. Sandra Whitaker's 303 Southside Drive asked about a buffer screen along the property. She also asked how long the company would keep a cap on the rent market and will the cap be lifted. She also asked about the bus passenger pickup for this development. Chastity Walker, a principal, a resident of 303 Southside Drive, asked again if the site will be able to have a bus driving to the site for bus passenger pickup, which the answer was given by Mr. Mikowski and Mr. Barnell. Anna Deans, a resident of 923 Brake Street, spoke to the board about the difficulties she has had trying to have the utility pole replaced when someone hits in front of her house. Of course, we told her on the town's behalf we would take a look at that and see what we can do to help her out when that ever happens. And all questions were answered by Mr. Martin Mikowski from Eastpoint Homes and Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering Firm. After the hearing that evening from the general public, the Town of Nashville Planning Board on February 25, 2005, voted in favor to approve the residential conditional rezoning request from A1 to RCCZD Residential Conditional Zoning District with a motion by Board Member Eddie Thomas and second by Board Member Jacqueline Lewis. The motion passed 4-0. 160 shows that this is in the WS4 watershed. 160, the second photo also shows this as what our GIS layer has it as. Once again, showing you our GIS planning layer. The next one, a Google Earth. And as we stated, pictures of the property being taken when we posted the sign are on your page 162 and 163. A few more things we got to go through, Mayor, then I will turn it over to you for the public hearing section and also hear from Mr. Mikowski and Mr. Varnell. The applicant would have to abide by section 18111M93 that states that all conditional zone applicants shall follow the R10, R6, and R6M general use zoning district dimensional standards as detailed within the ordinance in terms of required minimum lot size, setbacks, and maximum allowable height. The required minimum lot area will be reduced from 1,500 square feet for central water and sewer to R6, 8,000 square feet, or R10, 12,000 square feet. There are more than 34 different land uses that are permitted for development under certain circumstances in the current A1 zoning district. They'll be no longer permitted during development with this if it is passed tonight because the applicant has asked for RCZZD and one use multifamily. The conditional rezoning request is consistent with the 2021 Town of Nashville Comprehensive Plan. Reason why: number one, the purpose zoning request is in harmony with the existing and surrounding neighborhood. Number two, the Town of Nashville Comprehensive Plan has slated and designated this area for future growth, slated as a high-density area. And number three, such property does have road frontage and direct access from the Southside Drive, which is a Town of Nashville maintained road. Analysis for reasonable and spot zoning. Conditional rezoning request RCZD 2005-02 may be considered reasonable and in the public interest and not spot zoning because such property is located within a residential district and will continue to be zoned for residential similar to the adjacent properties around it. And also our second reason for not spot zoning, the Town of Nashville definition of conditional residential zoning district is to provide for unified residential developments which may include residential components that accomplish the purpose of applicable regulations to an equivalent or higher degree than what such regulations are intended to control development on individual lots and to promote economical and effective land use, approve levels of amenity, appropriate and harmonious variety, creative design, and a better environment. As we stated earlier, our TRC did not meet on this rezoning, and development conditions that we have proposed for the applicant, I have proposed as the planning director is number one, the subject property shall be developed in accordance to the approved site plan and applicable requirements of the Town of Nashville zoning ordinance and additional standards with Section 18-111 M9. The subject property may be developed for the land use permitted in the R6 high-density residential districts in accordance with the standard requirements and procedures established for the district by the Town of Nashville zoning ordinance. Number 3, prior to construction of the proposed site, the developer should obtain the following additional permits: a Town of Nashville zoning permit, commercial building permits and commercial trade permits issued by Nash County Building Inspections, a Town of Nashville driveway permit, and any other applicable permits that may be required for the site development with approval of Nash County Planning and Building Inspections. Developer must use a recommended type of buffer screening recommended by the Town of Nashville zone orders for the requested use. Significant or substantial modifications or revisions to the approved design of the site plan may require additional review by the Town of Nashville Technical Review Committee and the Town of Nashville Planning Board, as well as reapproved by the Town of Nashville Town Council at discretion of the planning director or his designee. And lastly, number 6, the conditional zoning map amendment shall be invalid unless and until the practitioners consent in writing to all the attached development conditions. Madam Mayor, that is the application and the staff report for our 11-acre rezoning off of Southside Drive out of a 34-acre tract. I will yield back to you for opening up the public hearing to hear from anybody that has signed up and also to hear from Mr. Mark Mikowski, who is the applicant, and he has hired Mr. Kevin Barnell from Stocks Engineer to represent him tonight. Madam Mayor,
Okay,
yield to you and
thank
the
you.
council.
Do I hear a motion to go into our public hearing, open our public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So at this time, I will hear from the people that signed up. When I call your name, please come up to the front and state your name and your address. The first person is Donna Outerbridge.
Donna Outerbridge, 920 South Great Street, Nashville, North Carolina. First, I want to say I am not against affordable housing for anyone, but I am against overcrowding in a particular area. From Richardson Court Apartments to the end of Brooklyn Boulevard is less than a mile. In that distance, there's already 3 apartments, low-income, working-class apartments in those areas. If you are taking vouchers in the complex that is going to be built, it is a section housing, low income. Workforce, low income is Section 8. It's all the same thing. It's just different words. First, I want to ask, how many town council people have been in our neighborhood, drove through, and not looked at a map? Is there a possibility of building less multifamily homes back there? We would like to know, can you put in a comprehensive plan to revisit another outlet in maybe 5 years if we can't get one now? Are the town council going to vote for sidewalks down South Side and Break Street? There will be more walking traffic, i.e. adults, children, and vehicles, because we do have school buses back there. How long will the border take to grow behind our houses? How about a fence? Because if it take a long time to grow, people still go cut through our yards once you build that multifamily complex. And why is the town trying to cram all the apartments in that less than 1 mile area in a predominantly African American neighborhood? And given your experience as a realtor and your role in managing a regional multiple listing service, how do you navigate potential conflicts of interest when working on projects like this multifamily development? Can you share any steps you take to ensure transparency and partiality in your decision making, where you may have a professional connection to developers, investors, and landlords?
Thank you. Next is James Lynch.
Good evening. My name is James Lynch. I live on Ward Street. I've been there for 51 years. I've seen a lot of things change, but this is a change for the bad, for our neighborhood. We got, Ward Street come from 58 up to the Green, and it handles the traffic load going back there to Richardson Court. And just being out there in my yard trying to do my yard work, I feel like I'm in danger with the speed of the cars. And if you add this much more than that coming through there, it could be bad. Because we don't, like I said, they got one way going through, but a lot of these traffic coming through, going to the project, coming out, and these guys is flying. I've talked to the police department, I've talked with you about seeing what we can do about it. Nothing been done. We put up a sign, but the sign ain't worth 2 cents if ain't somebody that enforce it. And now we put something else back there with that multitude of houses coming through there. We in danger. I want to be able to go home from, I'm retired. Now I want to stay home and relax and not feel threatened by the traffic or the people coming through there. Now you put this low income housing back there, it gonna pull people from neighboring cities, Rocky Mount, Wilson, Spring Hope, all on gonna nest in here because it's new. And they're gonna come in there and run, the citizens that helped build this town, gonna run us out if we can go out. My age, I don't want to go nowhere else now. You know, 74 years old, I don't want to try to go nowhere, but I love my home. I love Nashville. But like I said, about to become a place that, like you hear the mess about Raleigh, Durham, somebody shooting, and bigger it is, lower the income, more threats we're going to have. And it ain't going to just stay in our neighborhood. It's going to branch out into the surrounding neighborhood. So, like I said, and talking about the gentleman here, a lot of the stuff he talking, I don't bet on what he was talking about. And I'm sure some of y'all on the city council don't know what he's talking about. But people back here that come from where I come at, he could be saying something, and we agree to it, we don't bet on what we are agreeing to. This thing need to be broke down to our level so we can understand what he's saying. Because I know for myself now, across from where I live, I'm on one side of, I'm on the north side of Ward Street. Over on the south side, I got some neighbors live over there, and we got a swamp. We just had the city come in there with a little track hole and open it up. Now, if you go over here and parking lot, a lot of places, they're gonna create more runoff. And we're gonna have a mess there, and cause the sewage line is back there, we got this little mound thing, we're gonna have a mess with the flow of the sewage. But people gonna look at what they trying to develop and say, oh, it's all right. But we live there, we know what's go on. So I'm asking for the councilman to put yourself in our place. This is our home. We don't want to be ran out of it by all the growth and the traffic and possible flooding. And I wish you would consider what we got to go through with. And like I said, I've been living in this place 50 years. I raised my family there. And I used to brag on them. They said, well, tell you what, I get grown to leave this little town. But now I said, I want y'all to leave and then come back later on and see how great this little town is. But it's changing. And I don't want this town to go from good to bad. So think about what we're going to have to go through, because we live in there. Once it's set in stone, it's there. And we got to live with it. That's all.
Thank you. Chastity Whitaker.
Good evening. To echo a little off of what he talked about, when I went through a divorce, I moved back home with my mom and my father. And my father passed away, so it's just my mother and I now. But my mom's house is right at the dead end on Southside Drive, where the road will be cut to go into the development. And right now, as Mr. Lynch said, that there is a tremendous amount of traffic that goes through right now, and adding a 74 apartments, you're looking at about 150 cars if just two adults for every apartment. increase in that area, that has one way in and one way out. And when you add these, it's still going to be one way in and one way out. And one of the questions we had was there actually a DOT analysis done to determine the impact of that much traffic in that small of a radius when you are going to add 74 units in addition to what's already there. The next thing was they're talking about putting a buffer in, trees, and like I said, we're on the south side at the entrance of, so who's going to manage that? So when they grow up and they shed, because my mom's property, anything's coming on her property. Who's cleaning that up? And who's going to be responsible for the upkeep of that? They also said in the plan that there's a monument that'll be lit. Well, where they're proposing for that to be, that lit monument and any street lights will shine directly into my mom's kitchen, living room, bedrooms, whereas now it's very dark back there. The other one is big trucks. Whenever there's construction on Break Street, which is the street leading into South Side, that we go into South Side, when there's utility work, it is incredibly difficult to get through Break Street. So if you're adding more construction, more utility. If the roads are damaged, one, about the traffic flow, but two, who's fixing those? Because with that much traffic, there's going to be much more wear and tear on the roads. And then the last one is when they start their work. If my mom's stuff is damaged, who's paying for that? If her concrete, because any work that they do out there has a residual effect of impact on her property, who's going to be taking care of that? We're not against any growth, but we are asking that you consider, one, the safety, the traffic, and just the impact of people who currently live there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let's turn it over to the developer to see if you can answer some questions.
Mayor, as a point of order, if you would close the public hearing and then we'll let the applicant
Oh, I thought he
speak.
said he was going to be in. Okay, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
All right.
Mayor, Council, Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering, representing the applicant. I've got a quick few things I want to run through to address some of the concerns that the residents have presented, and then the applicant will also have a small presentation with some videos for you guys to see as well. So again, my name is Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering, and as Sean said, the request to rezone the approximately 11 acres from the town's base zoning of A1 to RZCZ. The parent tract is approximately 32 acres and currently has one access to public right-of-way from Southside Drive. The development currently proposes 72 tax credit apartments, and this is not a Section 8 or HUD housing project. Tax credit apartments are regulated by the North Carolina Housing Finance and essentially offer tax credits to developers who are willing to cap the rent to provide workforce housing. The renters must have income, pass a background check, and have good credit, no different than any other conventional apartment. The difference is that the development provides a place where a single public servant, like a teacher, public utility worker, firefighter, or police officer, can afford to live in a safe, well-managed facility with multiple amenities. The property currently has one access to public right-of-way off of Southside Drive, and the development will also stub to the adjacent properties to provide additional future connections as well. If this council will remember, Cardinal Woods is under construction and is to immediate south of this property, or I guess the southeast of this property. Ultimately, they have stubbed to that adjacent property as well. So as these properties continue to develop, they will make interconnections that will help disperse the traffic and connect with each other through the neighborhood. The 10th edition of the International Traffic Engineers Manual shows that 3-story apartments produce approximately 4 trips per day per unit. And for our development, that's 288 trips per day for this project. Assuming 75% of the trips happen within the peak AM and AM hours, there's one car roughly every 2 minutes. Certainly not a major traffic generator and well within the current level of service of a 2-lane road that can handle up to 4,000 trips per day. The recommendation for requiring a traffic study is when a new development adds 1,000 trips per day or more. And even with Richardson Court and all the single family on Break Street, the total traffic is still less than 1,000 trips a day. With 72 units proposed, there will be children. And however, these numbers are far less in apartments than in single-family homes where the average is 2 children per household. With 1 and 2 bedroom apartments in the mix, many of these will have no children. And the number of children that could result from this development might not make a major impact on the school system. And in regards to emergency services, the design of the site provides the required fire access, EMS response, and will install fire hydrants and sprinkler systems for fire protection. Before any design begins, multiple engineering studies will be conducted and the findings reviewed by their corresponding agencies. We will locate all wetlands, streams, collect geotechnical data, and do endangered species searches. And again, all findings must be concurred with by their corresponding agency. And for example, the Army Corps of Engineers will review and approve wetlands and streams. U.S. Fish and Wildlife will review any endangered species searches. The town of Nashville has an extensive stormwater ordinance in place that has been reviewed and approved by the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. The stormwater ordinance requires that all new developments must meet stringent runoff and treatment standards, and the post-development runoff must meet or be less than the pre-development runoff. Therefore, not only is the water clean, the rate at which the post-condition flows off the property has to be equal to or less than the current rate. As Sean mentioned, we are in the WS4 water supply watershed and would be limited to 24% impervious with curb and gutter or 36% impervious without. It is good to note also that this site drains away from the existing neighborhoods, and if you see the concept plan on the screen, it drains to the immediate west. So there is a existing creek that runs this way, and so our site has a stormwater pond at the low end of the site that discharges directly to the creek, where the existing neighborhood is sitting up here. So there should be no impacts to runoff, even with improved stormwater ponds and the reduction of the runoff. The proposed plan will provide a vegetative buffer along the shared property line with the single-family homes along Brake Street. So the buffer is shown right there, running along with those existing homes. The proposed multifamily conditional use limits the development to a number of units proposed as well as the layout. The conceptual plan has been provided, which shows how the development is proposed to be laid out. This plan is a guide and is subject to minor tweaks through the design process, and changes to the plan that do not change the overall scope or impact surrounding properties are anticipated and would not require reapproval from the board. This development will offer a multitude of amenities to include a staff clubhouse, workout room, multi-purpose room, computer center, outdoor seating areas, a playground, a picnic shelter complete with tables and grills. The proposed property is shown on the Town of Nashville land use plan as high density. It is also adjacent to Richardson Court Apartments and Meadow Park Drive, which are both multifamily projects. The town ordinance identifies high density as 9 to 13 units per acre, and this site is proposed as at 6.5 dwelling units per acre, well below the high density threshold. During the adoption of the land use plan, extensive public meetings were held, and strategic thought was put into identifying the specific areas, especially areas of high density. Things like traffic, environmental concerns, access to public utilities, stormwater runoff, schools, and harmony with the neighborhood were all considered before the board adopted that plan. Therefore, the proposed zoning, by being consistent with the land use plan, has already been scrutinized by both this board and the planning board and was found to have met these items. I know I've covered a lot of information very quickly, so I'll pause and answer any questions that you have. I will address the two, I guess, concerns about construction traffic and damage. Obviously, if anything is damaged during construction, there will be a video that's taken by the contractor prior to construction starting, and any damage that's caused by the contractor will be repaired by the contractor and developer, including on Brake Street or the adjacent properties. And then one option could be to install speed humps, similar to what we've done in Birchwood, if this board would so choose to do that, to help control traffic as well. So I'll pause at this point, Mayor, to answer any questions
Are
you
there
have.
any questions from the council?
Yes. Kevin, you were speaking of the current project on this 11 acre of land, and in conjunction with the Cardinal Woods subdivision. How futuristic, how realistic is that part of it? For example, if this project gets the green light on tonight, a lot of the constituents have reached out to me that are in that community, and their concern is really access.
Sure.
That's a major concern for them, and they feel that they may be overlooked and sometimes marginalized in that part of the community. It feels like that community is inundated with low-income housing already. You got Richardson Court, you've got another property just before you go into the cemetery,
Right.
over there on South Brooklyn, and then there's another one off on McCore. And so with all of that, I know that it's zoned for high density, but how realistic, and I know that you're dealing with municipalities, which is the town, and I know that you're dealing with private landowners, and there has to be a consensus somewhere, but comprehensive speaking,
Sure.
how realistic is it to get a second access at some point if this project gets the green light or any project gets the green light on that particular stated property?
So as far as So right now, Cardinal, this is the site that's in yellow right here. And we're proposing to come out of Southside Drive and stub directly to the south. So again, the Town of Nashville zoning ordinance requires us to make these stubs, and those stubs are how we interconnect. And ultimately, we'd love for it to start on one end and continue to kind of grow out. In our case, though, we do have an opportunity to develop this and extend Southside Drive out, which turns that future stub to the south. We also have Cardinal Woods that is under construction and being developed now that is stubbing this direction. So as far as realistic, it's very realistic, market conditions being really the controlling factor of how fast the town can grow and absorb this piece and come across. And so ultimately you've got Glover Park that sits here. And so, you know, Cardinal Woods is really the only option of coming across and making that connection. So it's very realistic. Ultimately it's market driven. And as long as Nashville continues to grow, then ultimately those connections will be made, no different than what Cardinal Woods is doing and what we're doing here, stubbing to the adjacent property. So will it happen in the next year? Probably not. Is it likely that it could be being discussed and planned and designed in the next 5 years? Absolutely. So as soon as these properties start selling, usually the adjacent property owners fall right behind it. And as these properties develop, new developers also want to develop near the other development. So it's the same concept that all of your drugstores have, where CVS and Walgreens were across the street from each other, and McDonald's is always across the street from Burger King. The same thing with developers. They're all in kind of that same area and grow out. So as things are starting, it will begin to fill in, and we'll have more and more interconnectivity that will assist with that. I know at the last meeting, or at the planning board meeting, it was also mentioned that we were going to try to, as a town, discuss the connection from the church, an emergency access connection with Fellowship Church there, which has kind of been used in the past without permission. So ultimately, we are looking at options that way as well to provide an emergency connection in the event. I think there was a power pole that was down that caused some issues, or, you know, if there were a wreck on Brake Street, how would you get out? So those were some of the options that we did discuss that would be temporary options, but ultimately, as things develop, it would interconnect and provide multiple connections to get out. Is that?
Yeah, you pretty much answered it. Thank you, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Because my perspective is, while I'm a proponent for smart growth, and I think when we look at development, commercial development, we gotta make sure it's smart growth. I am also a proponent of affordable housing. I believe that everybody should have somewhere where they can lay their head at night. And if I was a landowner, I would certainly want to sell my property if that was my so-said desire. But with that being said, like I said, I've had a lot of calls. A lot of people reached out to me in that particular community concerned, is it going to be, you know, as Richardson Court has been in the past, things of that nature. And it was just a major concern for them between that type of situation and as well as the other one being, the major piece being the access.
Sure.
So thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. In a perfect world, all the property would be developed at one time, and we'd run a road from one end to the other, and it would connect. In an imperfect world like we have, ultimately we have to extend as far as we can and wait for that next development to pick up, which is kind of what we're doing here. As far as the apartment complex and what's going to end up like, I'll reserve that for the applicants to give you their version of that. I think they've got a good presentation to show you what kind of units they're actually proposing to build.
Okay. Do you have a question?
Yes, Kevin, the buffers that's in the plans for that, are we talking about vegetation, or are we talking about fencing, or what, or is that still up in the air?
So right now, the Nashville ordinance requires a landscape buffer. And so ultimately, we would be installing whatever the town ordinance required as far as the landscape buffer goes. We typically don't like fences from the standpoint of someone has to maintain those. And over time, they tend to not look as good as we would like. Certainly don't look as good as the day they were done. But we would certainly be willing to do a berm or vegetative buffer to match the town of Nashville zoning ordinance.
Street width, that Break Street is mighty narrow.
I think it meets the minimum street width of 18 feet.
Yeah, it meets the minimum, but is that enough?
Yeah, so ultimately, DOT's minimum is 18 feet wide. And so ultimately, a DOT road out in the county is the same width as Break Street. It certainly doesn't meet the town's, current requirements of width, but ultimately, when it was done, it met the town's requirement. So, I mean, as we develop, the new streets that we're installing do meet the town standards. But unfortunately, we, can't go all the way back out down Ward Street, all the way back to 58, and making those bigger. But ultimately, the new streets being built all the way to Cardinal Woods would be wider and bigger streets to meet the new ordinance.
How, have we had any contact with the church about getting access across their land?
Councilmember Taylor, no, we have not. I emailed the Fellowship Church after the planning board meeting, and I haven't heard back from Michael yet on that question.
And again, we're proposing, I think, that as an emergency, access in case we need it, not a everyday access for all the residents to be able to use and go out. But if there was an event that closed the road down, it would give them a second way out. And I think with or without this development, that's something that's important for the town to pursue.
I'm just concerned about emergencies that happen with vehicles and fire trucks on the same going and coming.
Right.
It's not enough room for a fire truck and a vehicle to pass each other down. If somebody's got to stop moving.
Right.
And it's always a person that, I'm gonna keep rolling, you had stopped for me, and then nobody stops.
Right.
Then you got a problem.
That's right.
You got a problem. It's barely wide enough for two cars to meet, even being 18 feet. That's still, anything looks good on paper.
Right.
But I'm looking at it being practical.
Right.
I mean, with those 74 units added on in the back there with those cars coming through, we got enough people on the road right now that don't know how to drive.
I'm not going to argue or deny that. But like I said, I think it's one of those things where if you think about it from a long-term planning standpoint, we kind of have to grow, one direction. So ultimately, as we continue to grow towards Cardinal Woods, those roads would be better, which would help come back and do Break Street. And if the town board wanted to, we certainly can look at improving Break Street and trying to make that wider. Right now, it's a ditch section street. So if we wanted to go curb and gutter, that's something that the town board could certainly look at. But I mean, right now, unfortunately, that's the street width we have.
Kevin, I don't think anybody in here is against housing because there's always a need for additional housing. But I think the major concern is traffic and safety. And we need to make sure we pay close attention to that.
Right.
I'd hate for us to put this 74 unit back there and we say, oh, we should have done this. I think we need to explore all avenues to make that Break Street just as safe as it possibly can. Because what you're gonna do, you're gonna have a narrow street going in, you're gonna run into it, but then when you extend out, your street's gonna be wider.
That's right.
So, it's like taking a 3-inch water hose and turning it into a 5-inch. It don't work sometimes.
Right.
So.
Any other questions? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. It's for the record, I'm Mark McCluskey with Eastpoint Homes, 166 Center Street, Jacksonville, North Carolina. There's a lot of information to go over. I do have a presentation prepared. Some of this information was relayed to you guys earlier before tonight's meeting. So what I'd like to do is kind of go through my presentation of what we're proposing, how it complies with the comprehensive land use plan, in the future land use plan. And kind of just go through those criteria for the rezoning. Sean did a great job, and I appreciate you summarizing our planning board, but to reiterate, we were here last Tuesday evening for planning board consideration, and I ran through this presentation and criteria, and the planning board did find that it met the criteria for rezoning. Haven't found it met all the criteria laid out in legislation. So, do you have my PowerPoint presentation? And we are, before we, as you're finding that, so right now we're proposing 72 units, not 74. And 72 is the high end. I'm still waiting for a market study to come back, and I would expect that to land somewhere between 56 and 72 units. We came in showing 72 units to make sure it would fit, and it does. But within the next month or so, I'll have that market study information, and we very could well be back to 64, 56 units, somewhere in there, or maybe 72.
I'll find it.
Okay.
Well, Mark, I got a question for you while you're doing that. The difference between 56 and 72 was not buildings, right? It was height, right? Is that what you told us?
Either way, it would be 3 buildings, yes, sir.
3 buildings either way, okay.
So it'd be 2-story versus 3-story. And the footprint and layout would be the same, be a little less parking. I think the whole presentation is in the packet there also. I think it's after that, Randy. I think
Is it one of these? Got Southside Ave, Eastpoint, a map.
I think I saw it when you were scrolling upward. Yep, I think that's the start of it. And you could scroll through there to the next slide. So, all right, so as pointed out,
It's the red button.
red button, I'm colorblind. There we go, okay. So we're proposing to subdivide 11 acres off the 33-acre tract. Obviously, the location has been discussed. Like Kevin pointed out, we will extend Southside Drive up to the project site and stub out for future development. Next. Okay. Current zoning map. Like pointed out earlier, multifamily here and multifamily down the OI zone. Subject tract does touch both current multifamily as proposed, which makes it contiguous to existing multifamily. Next slide. And then going through the criteria, you got to substantiate that it's consistent with your comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan for the town of Nashville was adopted in 2021, and as pointed out, there was a lengthy and thorough planning process through that. And as an outcome, can you go to the next one? as an outcome of that, the future land use plan was kind of born out of that. And the subject site is designated for high-density multifamily. In fact, it's one of the few areas of town that are set aside for that, and that was one of the considering factors when we were looking for a project site. Next slide. So there's a handful of references in the comp plan that speaks to why this area should be considered for multifamily and how our proposal is consistent with that. And Sean touched on that, what the purpose of the high-density residential is, with a couple different uses which concentrate higher residential uses than you'd have out in the other districts. Considerations, parking to be hidden, which we've taken into consideration in our concept sketch. Rooftop amenities, not going to be applicable as we have sloped roofs. Workforce housing should be encouraged to expand housing opportunities. And that's one of our goals when we come into a community, is offer housing choices that aren't already available in a community. There's a great need all through North Carolina, and we concentrate primarily in eastern North Carolina. We're based out of Jacksonville. We work in a lot of communities east of I-95. And there's just a need everywhere. And what we want to do is provide choices for, not everyone has the income to buy a new single-family house or to pay a mortgage and all that goes with that single-family house. So our workforce housing, affordable housing, call it what you want, but it's a wide range of folks earning anywhere from $15,000 up to, a family making, $68,000. It's housing for everyone. Other item is consider visual transition for residential uses to ensure contextual grade of use. And as you're coming from a main street, typically you would have commercial development and then lower density residential, and then you'd work into transitioning to higher density residential, which is what we've pretty much have in the comp plan and what we're proposing. You transition from commercial, institutional uses, single family, and then into the higher density. And stone, brick, similar masonry materials should be used. We have a variety of building materials on our buildings, and I'll show you some photos of that as we walk through this presentation. In the values, vision, and goals section of your comp plan, it talks about ensuring inclusive housing and opportunities for all. And like I was just speaking to, that's what our goal is, to provide housing choice for a wide variety of people. And then just preserve and diversify housing was one of the objectives in the plan. And I think our proposal certainly meets that with diversifying the housing choices in town. Go ahead. And then the last part of the comp plan as far as implementation, can you scroll down a little more? Just highlighted there is talks about promoting sensible workforce housing. Again, that's what we're proposing. Our proposal is really designed around the concept, goals, and objectives of your comprehensive plan that was just adopted in 2021. Next slide. Zoning criteria 2, is there any inconsistencies? And in looking at the adopted plan and zoning ordinances, there's no inconsistencies in the land use plan or zoning ordinance. Criteria 3 is the rezoning request appropriate, beneficial, in the interest of general public. As we presented to the planning board, and as Sean reiterated, there's no detriment to the public. It's appropriate considering the comp plan propose it. It's beneficial and in the public interest as providing a diversity of housing and housing choices. We'll also be setting aside 10% of the units, which will be designated and designed and built to be fully handicap accessible. Those units will have roll-in showers. They'll have wider doorways. They'll be on the first floor for accessibility. They'll have roll-under workstations in the kitchen, larger turning radiuses. So as far as the public interest, I think that addresses that criteria. Number 4, will rezoning adversely affect adjoining property and or alter the character of the area? And that is, I think, thoroughly addressed in the comprehensive plan, that it would be in harmony, high density would be in harmony with the existing neighborhood. We do all we can and take pride in designing our buildings and our layout to be in harmony with the neighborhood. We consider the architecture, context of the design, colors, stuff like that to ensure that we are compatible with what's going on in the neighborhood. And then last item is accessibility and the impact to public infrastructure, and Kevin touched on that in great detail. Utilities are available with capacity to serve the site and the residents. All right, go ahead. And then I just have a few photos of some projects that we've done around North Carolina from a variety of Jacksonville, St. Paul's, Ayden and Pitt County, Ashboro, Fayetteville, Winston-Salem, that's Fayetteville also, and I believe that is Fayetteville also. So what we're proposing, like I stated, 72 units, and that'd be a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. And adding the 1 bedroom units, we tend to see a more diverse population. It used to be years ago, multifamily was 2 and 3s. We started adding 1 bedrooms about 8 or 10 years ago, and we saw that attracted a population of older adults, maybe single adults, widows or widowers, who choose and want to live with families or younger children in the community. So it helps provide a population of children up to seniors. Also, it serves young professionals who don't have a family. So we try to make a unit mix that could accommodate a variety of people. As far as our community amenities, inside our community building, we'll have a multi-purpose room for the tenants to use with a kitchenette. There'll be office space for on-site management. There'll be a resident computer lab for residents that may not have a computer in their home. They can come in and use that computer lab with a printer. There'll be a laundry room attached to the community building. All our units will have washer and dryer hookups. Just residents will have to bring their own machine. If they don't have a machine, there's a availability for a laundry room with high capacity, five machines of each type. Then also at the community building will be a mailbox kiosk, which is a covered area. So when folks get home, they can get out of the weather, walk into a covered area, have their mailbox, pick up their packages. And then also within that area will be a workshop for the on-site maintenance staff. And then around the site, there'll be pedestrian walkways throughout the site, a tot lot with a playground, so 2 or 3 separate pieces of equipment, and then a picnic pavilion with barbecue grills and tables for residents. And then usually we'd scatter a couple sitting areas throughout the site along the walkways. And this is a rendering of what a 3-story building would look like. And again, we have a mix of materials, broken up roof line, rather than just a single slope roof, a mix of brick, several different sidings. There'll be a balcony if you're on the 2nd or 3rd floor and a patio on the bottom. Breezeway, 2 breezeway buildings. These buildings are sprinklered also. Next slide. Just a sample of our typical unit layout, so 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom unit. Next one. Again, just kind of revisit the rezoning criteria that I went through. Those are those 5 that the planning board found that our proposal is compliant with. And I'm asking you all to do the same tonight so we can move forward. Regarding a couple questions. A fence along the buffer, like Kevin stated, we don't prefer to do fences. We could if that's a condition, and if that's what the neighbors want. We want to be good neighbors. If the neighbors want a fence, we certainly could accommodate that. You know, a lot of times we see fences and sometimes scratch our heads thinking, you know, what is the, are we trying to keep people out or keep people in? If it's purely just to break up the neighborhood and the view, we certainly could do a combination of fencing and landscaping, and we do that. Regarding site lighting, we follow a local jurisdiction's ordinance on site lighting. They're designed by a lighting engineer, which will adjust the height and the brightness of the light. The light is meant to shine down. We do not, by the time you get to the property line, the lumens or candle foots will be at 0, so there's no off-site spillage of light. It's intended to light up our site, parking areas, dumpster enclosure, amenity spaces. So these lights are not flooding off-site, they're not directed off-site, they're shining downward onto the property. And we will certainly take that into consideration and make sure that's the case. As far as the monument light, monument sign being lit, it's not that the sign will be illuminated itself. We have a single light that is usually solar powered that projects onto the signage so that it can be seen as you're driving up. So it's not like glowing, you see these signs. It's not an internally illuminated neon light. It's just a 1 or 2 small lights at the ground shining onto the sign. The sign will be probably 4 or 5 foot high. And they'll be directed, the light will be flooding onto the sign and into the project site. Regarding damage to existing roads, we don't have that occur often, but we do, we have and we will if the town requires it, and maybe just volunteer that. A lot of municipalities require a road improvement bond to be posted before construction. So an engineer will do an estimate of what it would take to rebuild that road, and we would post a bond before we start construction. And if we build it and damage the road and leave town, you'd never hear from us again, you could call that bond in and get the road repaired. You will see me again, we're not going anywhere. We have great standing with our bonding company, and they certainly don't want us to have beneficiaries calling the bond in. So we stand behind our work, and we stand behind a bond also and make improvements if there any damage. I think that's my whole presentation. I'm happy to stand here and take questions. And
They were concerned about, would there be someone on the property to manage it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, there is. We will have a on-site manager who will be a full-time resident. Sometimes they live at the site. They usually live within the community somewhere. The maintenance caretaker will be on site full-time, as a full-time job. He'll be on site along with the on-site manager. Usually once a month, a regional manager will come on site along with the on-site manager. So there's always someone at the community building. Maybe one night a week they'll stay late. On the weekends, the on-site manager runs activities for community children. They may have a game night, may have a movie night. And certainly if they're living on site, they're certainly more interactive and able to host these kinds of events.
How do you keep those apartments safe? I mean, how do you make sure people don't move in and totally distract and cause people to move out?
Yeah, so there's a threshold. About 6 months before we complete construction, our management company will start the lease-up process, and they'll have folks come in and apply. And when they are reviewing the application, they'll do a background check, both for criminal activity and a credit check. And there's a pretty high threshold of being accepted. A lot of times people get turned down. We don't want our management company to fill the units up quickly. We want them to fill them up with quality people, quality renters who have proven they can behave, so to speak. And if it happens that they do move in and cause trouble, our management company has the ability to enforce people being removed.
Any other questions from the council?
Sheriff, would you share with the audience the rate, the rental rate per 1, 2, and 3 bedroom
Yes, sir.
units?
I don't think that's on there, but So going back to the income qualification, that ranges from $15,420 for a one-bedroom, and as high as $68,080 for a three-bedroom family. That's the income qualification, and the rates for rentals would vary from $306 on up to $1,300. And that would be the difference between a one-bedroom on up to a three-bedroom. And then a two-bedroom would range from $372 up to $867, in those different ranges.
Mayor, if I may, you talked about how you would put a berm and things of that nature, but did not prefer a fence. One of my concerns would be for the residents at the 303 South side street, because their property, I think, would be facing a lot of the impact from your project.
Can you pull that map back up?
And so my concern would be, I know we talked about if there was damage to the property, damage to the yard, or damage to the driveway, all of that stuff in good faith would be taken care of. And that's good to know, good to hear, if your project gets the green light on tonight. But specifically for the 303 property, my concern would be, once we get into the part, if you get the green light of the actual condition or type of zoning and things of that nature, that perhaps we could work on or look at some type of fencing there for that particular property because of how it abuts up to your project.
Yes, sir. It's catty corner to it.
Yeah,
So a buffer along the parallel to Break Street doesn't help.
Mhm.
And we did talk about this last week. Can you pull up my site plan again? Or
You bet.
So you're saying a fence in the front yard? Is that what we're asking?
It would be along, so we did talk about this. So along here, so you're talking about 303 right here.
Right.
Yes, this berm, fence, landscaping doesn't provide much protection, none.
Right.
So along here would probably,
there,
there'll be a streetscape buffer required, and we'd be willing to do whatever to break up that view. We certainly agree with that and spoke about it after the meeting last week. So a fence, sure. Maybe it's I hate to put up a solid fence there, but we do like some 5-foot aluminum decorative fencing with some landscaping along.
That'd be nice.
Just to give it a little bit of interest. We are stepping the buildings off a little bit, so there's plenty of space to provide that kind of break. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I do have a question. I don't know that you can answer it, though. So I do see in our packet that the TRC still needs to review it once the site plan is submitted. When TRC reviews it, will they review and address any issues with Break Street as it came up?
I mean, the problems with Break Street, you know.
As far as two-way traffic and
Yeah, so it
width and-
is wide enough for two-way traffic, like Kevin spoke to.
Mhm.
You know, I know I can't, I'm not a traffic engineer, I'm not an engineer.
I don't even know that they would go
Yeah.
that far out.
I don't know that would come up in a TRC. We did have some discussion as far as Southside Drive.
Mhm.
Southside Drive probably isn't wide enough and probably does need, you know.
Right.
Right now, Southside Drive shows a 50-foot right-of-way.
Mhm.
So you probably have about six feet on each side of East Side Drive. Expanding it out 2 feet on each to meet Break Street or wider, I think that's something that we certainly could look at, absolutely.
Any other questions?
So our concern, was all the concerns that everybody mentioned.
Sure.
And I think you've answered them, but, I think, when we met, you mentioned some things and you showed us a video of things you've done in the past and you gave us some letters. So, I was 100% against this when walked into the office, and when we left, I felt pretty good because of your reputation. And so that's you know, these things are still concerns, but I think this project can be nice. And so,
Thank you. I mean, there always is concerns with any development. It's an unknown, especially when you have vacant land. It's an unknown. Yeah, you have a comp plan, but until something's proposed, it's an unknown. Our goal is to be a good neighbor. We're good neighbors in every community we're at. I gave a lot of residents my card last week, and I'm happy to discuss, you know, once we get into design, what we can do to mitigate any concerns. You know, if we move forward and build in the community, we'll be here for 30 years. You know, there's a question about how long is this affordable? Well, it remains, those rents remain affordable for a 30-year period. And we continue to maintain those. We are required to have a massive reserve account as soon as the project goes in operations. It'll be probably a $400,000 reserve account that gets funded annually, and that money gets set aside. If there's a catastrophe, hurricane rips the roof off, we have the reserves to go in and make those improvements.
Any other questions? Sean?
I actually have one more question.
Sure.
Regarding sidewalks.
Yep.
So we've been working with developers and trying to go forward with developers to try to make things more walkable and interconnected. And so in your actual development, to have sidewalks on both sides sort of looping together, and then potentially even coming on Southside Drive where it stubs down
Yes.
and over, so that we can have some connection and walkability.
Yeah, absolutely. I would envision if the town is requiring us obviously to extend to get to our site and down the future easement, wherever we put a road, there'll be a sidewalk.
Okay, great.
Assuming the town requires it and wants it. But yes, we'll have a pedestrian way connecting from on-site walkways out to the right-of-way. And if required road improvements will also include walkways.
Okay.
well, and also the sidewalk on that south side, it just kind of goes and ends. It's just useless. So it either needs to continue going, or it needs to go back to the right.
This here?
No, down. Down off the south side, the very south point.
Well, it's
Next to the- right there.
hugging, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
That sidewalk goes and stops. There's no use for it. So it either needs to continue, or it needs to go to the right instead of the left and meet back with the other sidewalk
Yep, yep,
next to the building.
mhm,
It just needs to make sense.
yep. Yeah, I got you.
We're trying to get to the point where we're not having sidewalks because the rule says we're having sidewalks.
Yeah.
We're having sidewalks because it makes sense and walkability.
Absolutely.
We just heard from the,
And all these sidewalks will be ADA accessible. There'll be crosswalks here. Our walkways are 6.5 foot wide on the site, and that provides enough space if someone's gonna park head-on, 2 foot overhang over the sidewalk, it still leaves 4.5 feet for ADA accessibility.
Any other questions? Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, if you look in your packets on page 195, Eastpoint Homes has a letter of recommendation from Mayor Ivory Meeborn from the town of Ayden. If you look at 196, Eastpoint Homes has a letter of recommendation from Mayor Sammy Phillips from the city of Jacksonville. And we also have 2 videos that has been provided by Eastpoint Homes this evening for you to watch. The first one is from the city manager, and then we'll have one to watch of a rehab they did.
Ray, and I'm the city manager for the city of Jacksonville, North Carolina. Please accept this as my professional recommendation for Eastpoint Homes. The management team of Eastpoint, James Mays and Mark McCloskey, have been an excellent partner for the city of Jacksonville for many years. They've completed 3 developments within our city that include over 280 units that have added opportunities and options to our citizens. They're currently working on a 4th property that will give us additional options for our 72,000 plus citizens to acquire affordable, quality housing. Over the years, Eastpoint Homes has stepped up in multiple options, and they've provided many different support levels to our community. We're excited to have them as a partner as we move forward, and I firmly believe that they'll be a good partner for you as you move forward. Thank you so much. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.
The second winner for rental housing is the Village at Stone Creek in Asheboro. Without diligent maintenance and financial investment, few properties survive over time without visible signs of wear and tear. Such was the case with the Village at Stone Creek in Asheboro, which was first placed in service in 1992. After more than 20 years, it needed a substantial makeover and was consequently plagued with high vacancy and an escalating crime rate. A complete rehabilitation of the community has not only restored its original luster, but has sparked praise and support from the City of Asheboro and its police department. To acquire the property and oversee its rehabilitation, Halkin Development teamed up with Eastpoint Homes. The scope of work included a tremendous amount of construction and renovation, comprising removal of all interiors down to the drywall and replacement of all flooring. Other interior work included new kitchens and bathrooms, mechanical systems, and light fixtures. Outside the buildings, extensive regrading addressed erosion issues and improved accessibility throughout the site. Outdoor amenities were also added or improved. This included paving the parking lot and upgrading the playground equipment, picnic shelter, mailbox kiosk, and trash enclosure. The extensive renovation of the property's 7 buildings resulted in 56 like-new 2- and 3-bedroom garden apartments spanning in size from 800 to 1,000 square feet. Rents ranged from $474 to $585. Going beyond the physical improvement of buildings and apartment homes, the renovation of the Village of Stone Creek ultimately reduced crime in the neighborhood and the surrounding Asheboro community. Troubled by the area's high crime rate when the renovation first began, the owners and management company worked closely with the Asheboro Police Department and neighbors to address safety concerns and crime prevention. Since then, the community has seen a dramatic reduction in crime, and the Asheboro Police Department, Mayor, and City Council all call the Village at Stone Creek a community to be proud of. Residents couldn't be happier at the turnaround in their homes and their shared community.
I love my balcony and I love my view. I have an awesome view. They put a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort in this place to make everybody feel, right at home. And that's what I like about it, because they put a lot of time and effort in this place. And it's really nice. I mean, it's really nice here. My grandson's school actually is walking distance. He can walk right across the street. So, and all my doctors and everybody is just like right up one street up. So everything is convenient for me. Everything is convenient. The hands go out really to the management team, because they really accommodate their tenants here. And, they try to do everything, make everybody like family-wise, try to involve everybody into a lot of activities. So, yeah, it's peaceful and quiet, so I love it over here. I wouldn't see myself anywhere else.
Rehabilitation of the Village at Stone Creek was financed by housing credits and investments from the state's Housing Trust Fund and Workforce Housing Loan Program. Receiving plaques are Halkin Development and Eastpoint Homes.
Madam Mayor, this evening, Mr. Martin Mikowski and Mr. Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering and Eastpoint Homes. Mr. Mikowski has presented the case for rezoning. Staff recommendations were that night to the planning board to approve the rezoning. The planning board that night did vote in favor of approving the rezoning with writing a statement consistency on page 169 of your packet, 167 of your packet. So, Mayor, I will yield back to you and the council for deliberation and discussion, Mayor.
Thank you so much. So at this time, do I have hear a motion to approve the rezoning of the 11 acres off Southside Drive parcel of land from A1 agriculture to conditional zoning residential for development of multifamily residential apartments, and approve or deny the rezoning request of ordinance 2025-14? Do I hear a motion to approve or deny?
Move to approve the rezoning.
Do I hear a second?
Before I second, can we, I don't know if we are even allowed to do this, include in this ordinance where we approve the rezoning that it's for the purpose of multifamily pursuant to what has been presented in the application, and that it's specific to this company. I don't want to approve multi-family housing to have something come in that is not beautiful, that's not safe, that's not going to be good for our community. So that's question number one.
I don't know if you can limit it to just that one company.
It is conditional.
Can I make that a condition?
It has to be accepted by the developer.
Yeah.
Or can it be something like if they sell the property, this reverts back to agricultural?
I think that would be more.
Okay, all right, so then that would be part of mine. And is this the time to add in the decorative aluminum fencing with the vegetative buffers, as well as the looping of sidewalks, and if we wanted to do the road improvement bond?
I think you can do it now. I don't think it's required, but I mean, because they can do that. That's kind of part of the kind of like the next stages. But I mean, you certainly can put it in there.
If those are added in, I guess we have to make a new motion, or can we stick with the old motion?
So the bond is for break, but you're talking about, we also need to add a wider street to south side.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah, 'cause that's definitely not wide enough.
I would say yes, especially since I think we're all.
And sidewalks.
Yes, okay. So the widening of the street, do we want to do the improvement bond if something were to go wrong?
Sure.
Okay. The looping of the sidewalks, and then the decorative aluminum fencing with the vegetative buffers where it impacts the homes.
Lighting.
Okay,
With those additions, do I hear a second?
second.
Mayor, before you second that, because it's conditional zoning, the applicant has to accept.
Okay, where's the applicant? Do you accept? Okay, I pronounce you. Okay, do I hear a second?
I second.
She seconded.
Second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Motion.
Mayor, I am a very reluctant yes, and it's based off of those conditions, and it's primarily because I've already stated that I'm a proponent for affordable housing, but based off of the rezoning criteria that they've already met, as well as the planning board's recommendation in conjunction with the comprehensive plan of 2021, I'm a very reluctant yes on tonight.
Okay, so the motion carries. Thank you, it is approved. The next item on our agenda is Nashville Junction rezoning.
I'm about tired of approving stuff for Nashville Junction.
What happened?
I'm about tired of.
Ray, you want to give a chance for everybody to disperse before we move into this one?
Pardon?
You want to give a chance for everybody to disperse out before we move into this one?
Chastity. How are you? You doing good?
Something about getting everybody straight.
Oh, yeah, letting everyone exit.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Okay.
Hey, good evening once again, Mayor. We have conditional zoning request CZ 2005 CZ in RO1, conditional zoning non-residential. And it is for Nashville Junction and the parking lot. Hurt LLC is requesting 723 Barn Street in the parking lot owned by Hurt LLC within the town limits of Nashville along Barn Street with a parcel 345050. 34504549 be rezoned from I-1 Industrial 1 to CZNR, our conditional zoning non-residential. If we go to page 223 in your packet, that is the application that her LLC has submitted to the town of Nashville. Describe how number 1 on 225, Describe how the conditional zoning request is consistent with the Town of Nashville Comprehensive Plan, zoning orders, and any other official plan that's applicable. It will be offered to opportunity to provide opportunities to businesses that is detrimental to the community, creating an economical growth, development, and reemployment. Explain how the conditional zoning request will be updated to the existing orders if there is any inconsistency with the Town of Nashville Comprehensive Plan, zoning orders, and any other official plan that's applicable is consistent with the downtown Nashville. Explain why the conditional zoning request will be appropriate, beneficial, and in the general public's interest of the sought to be rezoned. Providing business in the community that is in the downtown district. Explain whether the conditional zoning request will be adhesive affect adjoining property owners and alter the character of the area. It would not. Briefly explain the accessibility and the impact of aquatic public facilities, service, fire and safety infrastructure, parks and recreation, stormwater drainage, and topography that is currently available to the subject property. And Mr. Hurt states nothing has changed. If you go to page number 227 in your packet, that is the layout of the Nashville Junction. Of course, we were going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, but the mapping department said it should be A, B, C, D, E, F, G for his other units. If you turn to 228, that's where the staff reports begins. As we state, the property owner is Mr. Hurt LLC, Mr. Michael Hurt. He is the applicant tonight. This is rezoning case 2005 CZNR 01, asking to rezone 723 Barnes Street and the parking lot with the address point of 207A West Cross Street from Industrial 1 to CZNR, conditional zoning non-residential. Our zoning and land use to the north of the property is B2, a parking lot and shopping center. To the south is I1, a residential vacant lot. To the east is O&I, residential and industrial. And to the west is I1 and R10, a vacant lot and residential. Our existing zoning is I1. The I1 district is defined as a certain land so situated as to be suitable for industrial development, usually along railroad sidings or major thoroughfares, but where certain operation could adversely affect nearby properties. The purpose of this district is to permit the normal operation of almost all industries, expecting those that will be detrimental to adjoining properties. Excluded from this district are those industries which are obnoxious by the emission of smoke, dust, fumes, glare, noise, and vibration, and those industries that deal with primarily in hazardous products such as explosives. Selected business uses are also appropriate in this district. Our CZNR is defined as a purpose of non-residential conditional district. It's to provide a unified non-residential development, which may include residential components that accomplish the purpose, applicable regulations to equivalent or higher degree that where such regulations are intended to control development on individual lots, and to promote economical and effective land use, improve levels of amenities, appropriate harmless varieties, creative designs, and a better environment. The NRCD district is intended to be used for the purpose of binding development to a detailed site plan with a list of specific conditions that ensure compatibility and harmony with surrounding areas. If you go down to our 2021 Nashville Comp Plan, the existing I-1, the preferred uses in that is research facilities, logistic and distribution facilities, commercial and industrial operations, government facilities. Tonight, what our applicant is asking for in his conditional zoning application is a farmer's market, produce sale, retail land use, processing facility, banquet hall, club or lodge, community center, museum, meeting facility, conference center, place of worship, theater indoor or outdoor, convenience store, bus passenger shelter, transportation or terminal passenger only, schools, all uses in general, vocational, high school, middle school, elementary, community college, manufacturing assembly, processing distribution, distilleries, brewery, a cigar shop, which is retail, winery, leather and allied product manufacturing, a veterinary clinic, a veterinary hospital, office and financial services, building trade office without outdoor storage, recreational facilities indoor and outdoor, health and personal care facilities, body arts, eating and drinking establishments, a licensed massage parlor, and taxidermy. All these uses are allowed in our CZNR zoning district. We did have a conversation with Mr. Hurt a few weeks ago before the planning board meeting, and he did give us a reason for why he's asking for a few of these districts. The leather allied product manufacturing, Mr. Hurt and Her LLC has a prospective Western wear store tenant who makes custom leather pocketbooks and other leather items. Even though this will be considered a retail use, Mr. Hurt wants to ensure that this business will be able to manufacture signature leather products in the future under this use in case the business grows. Place of worship, Mr. Michael Hurt with Hurt LLC has a prospective tenant that will be using a suite building to host religious events on the property. This will comply with meeting facility and conference center, but he wants to be able to allow the future tenant the chance to be open on other hours throughout the week and weekend for religious events. Manufacturing, Hurt LLC has a prospective tenant that makes and retail, among other things, homemade grits from scratch to sell in supermarkets. And Mr. Hurt with Hurt LLC has a prospective tenant from Raleigh who is looking at assembling customized firearms and selling them. For both of these, the tenants are operating to do this business. They would need to be rezoned as manufacturing use. For the firearms store, the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives require that such location of an area be zoned as manufacturing use. And lastly, schools. Mr. Hurt is also working with Nash Public Schools and Nash Community College to use one of the Nashville Junction suites as a satellite school site for continuing education classes and day and night classes for educational purposes. If you turn over to 230 in your packet, as we stated before, the description of the property is 1.31 acres. It is in Industrial I. If you turn to 231, the project history, before that you can see that the property is slated in our future land use map as industrial. And our project history, Her LLC is the applicant, requests to rezone a total of 2.82 acres at the above said location. The rezone application was received by the town of Nashville on February the 5th, 2005. Public hearing notices were mailed out to approximately 53 property owners within a 500-foot radius on February the 5th. The public hearing notice was posted on the town's website on February the 7th. The rezoning sign was posted on the property on February the 5th with photos taken. Please see at the end of your packet. The legal notice was advertised in the February the 13th, 27th for the planning board meeting, and also scheduled to air on February the 25th for our town council meeting on March the 4th. If the planning board reached a decision, that's why we're here tonight, because they did. The front door of the town hall was posted on February the 5th, 2005. The front door of the town Nashville Harold D. Cooley Library was posted on February the 7th. The subject property is not located within the floodplain. The subject property is in the Stony Creek watershed, Upper Stony Creek subwatershed. The subject property is not located within the NCDEQ water supply watershed. The property will be provided with water sewer through the town of Nashville. The town of Nashville Planning Board held a public hearing on February 25th, 2005, where no one spoke for or against the conditional zoning request. That evening, the planning board voted in favor to approve the rezoning request of 723 Barnes Street and parcel 3345049 from Industrial 1 to conditional zoning non-residential with a motion by board member Dennis Evans and second by board member Walter Harper. The motion passed unanimously. Currently, our table allowed uses only allow 44 permitted uses, 35 permitted uses with additional developmental standards, and 2 special use in industrial zoning district. By using conditional rezoning, Kurt LLC will be decreasing to only 27 uses, which they're asking for this evening. If you look at 232, that's a Google Earth shot. Also on 233, that's another Google Earth shot of outside of the building. And on 233, you can see the pictures of the property posted. If we jump over to 235, consistent with the comprehensive land use plan, the conditional rezoning request CZNR 2005-01 is consistent with the town of Nashville comprehensive plan for conditional non-residential because 1, the Nashville Junction is within the industrial zoning district. 2, this development is in harmony with other industrial uses within the district. 3, the Nashville Junction was made to allow mixed uses of business house under one quote umbrella unquote. Analyst reasonableness in spot zoning. Conditional rezoning request on 236. CZNR 2005-01 may be considered reasonable and in the public's interest and not spot zoning because number 1, the subject property is located within the industrial district and will continue to be zoned for industrial similar to the adjacent property around it under conditional non-residential. 2, the town of Nashville definition of non-residential conditional district NRCD is provided for unified non-residential developments, which may include residential components that accomplish the purpose of applicable regulations to equivalent or higher degree that where such regulations are intended to control development on individual lots and to promote economical and effective land use, improve levels of amenities, appropriate and harmonious varieties, creative designs, and a better environment. As we stated earlier with the first rezone, the TRC did not meet on this zoning matter. They did meet on the construction and the change of use for the Nashville Junction a few years ago when we started this journey. Our development conditions that we would like to place this evening, if this is passed, is number one, the subject property shall be developed in accordance to the approved site plan that's applicable requirements of the Town of Nashville zoning ordinance and uses for the following as farmers market, produce sale, retail land use, processing facility, banquet hall, club or lodge, community center, museum, meeting facility, conference center, place of worship, theater indoor, outdoor, convenience store, bus passenger shelter, transportational terminal passenger only, schools, all uses in general, manufacturing assembly, processing and distribution, distilleries, breweries, a cigar shop, a winery, leather and allied product manufacturing, veterinarian clinic, veterinarian hospital, office and financial service, building trade office without outdoor storage, a recreational facility indoor and outdoor, health and personal care facility, body arts, tattoo and body piercing shop, eating and drinking establishments, licensed massage parlor, and taxidermy. And as of course, any new use must come back before the Town of Nashville Planning Board and the Town Council for amendment, where an approved vote will be needed to add that use to what's being requested. Number two, significant or substantial modifications or revisions to the approved site plan may require additional review by the Town of Nashville Technical Review Committee and the Town of Nashville Planning Board, as well as reapproval by the Town of Nashville Town Council at discretion of the planning director or his designee. Number three, the applicant must abide by section 24.4, noise where it states unreasonable, quote unquote loud noise or quote unquote disturbing noise shall not be allowed between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. per the Town of Nashville General Ordinance. And number four, the conditional zoning map amendment shall be invalid unless and until the practitioner consent in writing to all the attached development conditions. As we stated earlier, Mayor, on February 25, 2005, the Town of Nashville Planning Board did vote in favor to allow the conditional rezoning request with the attached development conditions 1 through 4 with a unanimous vote. Mayor, I will yield back to you and the Town Council for the matter of the public hearing, and then we can hear from Mr. Hurt. Which way you want to go, Mayor?
Okay. Do I hear a motion to go into to open a public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this? If not, Mr. Hertz would.
We're gonna close it. Right.
Oh, got to close this.
I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to close the,
So moved.
okay, second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mike.
How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Been an eventful night. So, I mean, you know, y'all have any questions for me? I mean, Sean did such a good job laying it out. I'm sure there's probably gonna be some questions, but we just looked at the industrial I-1 and tried to think about anything that could possibly go into this building. Likelihood that, you know, several of those things might not come to fruition, I would say are probably reasonable. I would say that, you know, it's already zoned I-1. That gives you a lot of opportunities, a lot of things that could be used there. And we did try to limit ourselves to several things that just didn't fit for what we were trying to do. But, you know, time is money, and the least amount of time that we've got to spend to try to, you know, provide a unit to a tenant. You know, at this point, we've got half the battle done. We've got the building finished, and we've got we've got 5 tenants that's already signed, which is 7 units. We've got 3 other prospects that are looking to come, which leaves two more units, you know, if those 3 prospects come through. I've had the building rented at least twice now since we started this process. A lot of it had to do with the timing of how long it took to get it done, but Rome wasn't built in a day either. But
Are the people that you have set up already within the guidelines currently of the current zoning?
Not the restaurant. I don't think I-1 permits a restaurant. The other ones, we were able to look at what I-1 allowed, and we were able to get those approved through the current zoning.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
I think we're looking at this in the wrong way. I think if this was just strictly you owning the property and wanting to do something here, you could look at what it's currently zoned and then things that you'd like to do otherwise. But here we have a public-private partnership, and we have an agreement that we're trying to accomplish something much greater than just keeping it what's allowed in industrial or what's allowed in B1. I don't think we would have entered into the public-private partnership if we were just going to do what's allowed industrial. I don't think you would have spent that much money on revamping these just to do what's allowed industrial.
Right.
So I think we need to look at our partnership, and I think we need to look at the agreement and what we're trying to accomplish as the Junction as a whole. And to put like a public school in there, we're not realizing any tax dollars from that.
That's not.
Even any schooling, if you're going to be working with them to do some sort of extension where they're going to be doing classes, no one's purchasing anything. No one's going in there to buy something. And so, yes, we're doing goods, services, things like that.
Well, they're a tenant.
Right, so that works for you, but that doesn't work for the public-private partnership and the vision that we had. So I think also when it comes to a place of worship, that's not what we were originally envisioning with this. We were envisioning the microbrew, the restaurant, a hair salon, retail shops where people can come and buy things. Like the leather purses, I think that's a great idea. I think that fits in with coming in and being able to purchase something. If the grit place is going to actually have a storefront and they are going to sell specialty grits, then great. But I think when it comes to just putting a tenant in for the sake of putting a tenant in, that's not what our original intent was here.
Well, I mean, that's not what we're going to do either. I mean, the objective is so that everything works in harmony with the tenants. We want to put tenants that are there that are providing maybe a unique service or something that is going to cater to the rest of the tenants. I mean, we've got a plan for what we're looking to try to do. I can't make people rent the building though.
True, but we can say yes to specific items so that we get the right tenants in there.
Agreed.
Well, I'm going to follow the Nashville Junction inducement agreement signed on October 5th, 2021. And the second paragraph says, promote economic growth, commerce, and development. The third paragraph says, generate new and additional commerce, business opportunities, jobs, and tax base within downtown. So I'm going to follow that. So whatever we agree on is going to be based on those two things in our agreement from 2021, because that's what we signed. Unless we want to do something different and he pays back. But if we're going to stay in this agreement, I'm going to follow that, which says...
What's one thing that we're requesting is not going to do what you just laid out?
Worship in school is not going to do those things, for sure.
You don't think that's going to add a benefit to the community?
It didn't say benefit. No word did I say benefit.
We're
I
talking
said
about tax base.
generate new and additional commerce, business opportunities, jobs, and tax base.
So
it says and. It doesn't say or.
If a community college wanted to rent that facility and they're going to have classes there
It doesn't do those things.
You don't think bringing people into the community that's going to have disposable income to spend in the community is not going to contribute to the economic development of the community?
It's not going to help that property we put a parking lot on.
I think that this would be like a breach of our responsibility and our duty. I don't think we can approve so many of these things after spending public funds in order to create this partnership, to create this place where people can come together, a benefit to the community, what we sold to the community. We can go back to those videos on what we talked about this dream to be. So
Sure.
I don't think it's fair to then say, we're just going to put a church in there and put a school in there and put anything that generates $1 for rent.
Okay.
If you owned it outright and it wasn't a partnership, this would be a totally different conversation.
Well, we've invested quite a bit of money in it too.
Right.
And so have we.
So I agree.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street.
That's why I'm going to follow what the agreement is.
Okay. So what we're requesting, what do y'all take exception to then?
So I'll tell you what I like. I can agree to, obviously, the
That'd be
farmer's
great.
market.
Yeah, let's talk about what y'all like, and then we can
And produce
we'll work on the
sales.
rest of the stuff.
Retail, obviously. We could do a banquet hall, a meeting facility, conference center, theater, distillery, brewery, cigar shop, winery, leather and allied product manufacturing, recreational facilities, indoors and outdoor, health and personal care facility, body arts, eating and drinking establishments, licensed massage parlor, the office and financial services, and the building trade office, without outdoor storage, which I understand is your business office is going to be there. An attorney's office is going to be there. An insurance office.
No, these are potential people. We've had people that were
Okay.
insurance agents and attorneys. And
Realtor.
We've had realtors, and I don't have any of those contracts signed.
Okay. I was actually going to limit the number of units to be used by those two categories, because again, we don't want this to just become like office space, where it's just workspace.
It's not. I mean, we got a pizzeria and a restaurant that's signed.
Which are all great.
We've got a couple of other, we do have some office spaces that are signed. One of them is a CEO personal development company that's actually opening up tomorrow. We do have a hair salon there. We've got a barber that we've sent a contract to. We do have, we're in conversations, negotiations with a nutritionist type business. They do facials and Botox and massages and different things like that. So, we're trying to bring in tenants that's going to cater, going to uplift those businesses is what we're looking for. We've got a tap house that we've been talking to as well. And we've got 2 units that's set up for a destination restaurant. I mean, but we're not going to fill the whole building full of places of serving alcohol either. We don't want to oversaturate the building with that. So, I mean, we're still in line with what we were talking about. Nothing's changed. We want to have a good mix of good tenants that's going to provide economic development to the community in a place where everybody in the town can come and feel welcomed and enjoy themselves. That hasn't changed. Frankly, I've never gone through a zoning ordinance and had to list all the different things that, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in there. I mean, I've personally never done it. So, in my naiveness, I was looking at it like, well, what could potentially go here, and just trying to, I mean, it's such a big list of things. So, I mean, do I think there's going to be a bus stop there? No. I mean, is the town going to eventually have a transit here, and they may want to utilize some of the property for that?
And you can always come back if there's things that happen in the future where all of a sudden, that is a passenger rail or a bus stop or whatever it may be. We can always accommodate in the future. But I think as of now, especially since knowing that whatever we approve applies to the entire property unless we place conditions on it like, you can only have 4 units of that type of thing. So I just want to protect us so that, tomorrow you don't turn around, sell it to someone else, and all of a sudden we're stuck with just one big, something that's one thing.
Well, I'm hoping to have it leased up in the next 4 months.
Which would be
Or
fantastic.
sooner.
So I'm comfortable with all of those items, but that's just me in a nutshell.
And I want you successful with or without our partnership, but we have a partnership. And so we both got to be successful.
And we're donating the land back like we planned to. We were waiting on some civil work to get done, I think, some rezoning or maybe some redrawing some property lines. So, I mean, nothing's changed. We're still going to do exactly what we intended on doing.
When is that going to happen, by the way?
Well, Bill, Matt Gay and Associates is redrawing the south property line to include the stormwater retention on the lot that the town owns. Michael didn't want ownership or responsibility of that. He set out and divided that property shortly after the agreement was signed, just like the agreement said, split it where the parking lot and shelter or stage is going to be built, which he did. But, then we changed the location of the stage and the stormwater retention got moved too. So I should have
30
that by
days,
the
60
end of the
days?
week.
Okay, so next 45 days we can make this happen?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I'm okay with the list that you mentioned also. I just want to make sure that we follow our agreement, and it sounds like those do that. Now, do we limit, I hate to limit, but at the same time, we had an investment in this thing. I hate to limit, but I mean, we don't want every one of those to be a State Farm agent. I mean, that's not gonna give us what we need. So I don't know if we need to limit or not, but, I mean,
Limiting stuff, I mean, I'm all for making, I understand what you're saying, I do, but we weren't never talking about making some serious limits either. I mean, we're gonna do what's right.
And I hope that that's the case. I guess with the
I've got a
limit,
huge investment in this thing. This thing's ran about 500 or 600 grand over budget. And we're gonna finish this project, and we're gonna get it rented, and we're gonna see it out, because if anybody's gonna be impacted by putting the wrong tenants in there, it's gonna be me. And the town. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, if we don't get the right fit of tenants in there, it's not gonna work. You know, we want a nice, safe place where people can come in and do business and get a drink, get their hair done, you know,
Absolutely.
get a cut, you know, and try to figure out something else that we're going to do there. I mean, maybe a golf simulator or axe throwing something. I don't know. I don't play a lot of golf, but I mean, that's been thrown around. I got 4 boys. They keep me busy, so. I mean, I want to see a place out there, like we talked about, where kids can be running around out there having fun, you know, like I've seen in Youngsville and like I've seen in other communities, and you know, I'm still thankful and very appreciative for y'all believing in me in the beginning of this thing, and I'm not going to let you down even, you know, we'll get this worked out.
Council, maybe a suggestion, the list of uses that Michael put on his application, would you mind going through those and suggesting which ones you would like struck? And then Michael can say yes or no to that?
We got a question from Michael about that. The firearms manufacturer, is that allowed within in that building with the alcohol?
Well, I mean, I don't know of any restrictions. But
Okay, I don't either. That's why.
And I mean, I've got a buddy of mine, he owns Carolina Gun Runners out of Raleigh. They're one of the biggest gun stores in the state. And, you know, he was telling me about companies that manufacture and sell silencers. That's kind of a big thing in today's market, particularly for home defense, because, you know, it's quieter. But that is a very difficult zoning approval to get. And so if they were to have a retail place and also manufacture those in one of the units, again, I mean, I haven't even talked to one yet. But I'm just saying, I just wanted to keep my options open because it is a valuable zoning, I guess it would be a good way to put it. And if they could make that and sell those in that location, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing either.
I think we need to prove anything that falls in line with generate new and additional commerce, business opportunities, jobs, and tax base. I mean, if it falls in with those guidelines, which we agreed on, fine.
Yeah, but I still think we need to keep with the spirit of the original agreement too. Like, I mean, like a processing facility or something like that would generate business, but that's not going to be in line with what the intent was for this building.
What kind of processing?
I don't know. You have processing facilities.
I don't know either. I saw it on the zone. It sounded like it would work, you know, that you can manufacture, make stuff, you know. I mean, I'm not being funny. I mean,
Sean, like when
you got Sean?
We got too much stuff on here. We got too much stuff.
facilities.
We got too much stuff.
What can we do with the processing?
According to our table of allowed uses, I got it in here. A processing facility would fall. Let's see what they will have them. So under processing facility land use, there's different things they have. There's distillery, microbrewery, animal feed preparation, manufacturing, packing, distributing, seafood preparation, starch, vegetable fat, oil manufacturing, tobacco processing preparation, winery, stuff like that. So you pretty much would think of stuff like warehouse distribution stuff, processing it, making it, and then distributing it out.
We have like distillery and brewery on here, so that would cover, I would think.
That would cover if they want to distribute it out.
Distributing.
Yes, that would cover that.
And that for sure needs to stay.
Right,
Yeah.
I agree. But processing, like, I feel like that's pretty broad where
Process be more of your bigger manufacturing.
bigger.
Right.
Right.
If
So
they got a
can
big
we
operation.
Next that one? Okay.
Tell us the ones you really wanted, so maybe we can go from there. I mean, that might be helpful.
I don't have the list right here in front of me. I mean, I think the gun manufacturing thing is one that I was leaning towards. Can I see that?
I don't love that one.
All right. Obviously, farmers market. We all want that.
Yes.
We already got it. Let's see.
Retail, we want, if you can get more
Retail.
retail, that'd be great.
Banquet hall. I mean,
I can get on board with that.
yeah. Club or lounge.
Well, that's Clever
That's-
Lodge. And
Clever
that
Lodge. Yeah. I
is
mean,
usually like a,
they've got a Masonic lodge down the road. So I mean, but I'm not sure what is allowed in a Clever Lodge or what isn't. You know,
I would
is
nix
it.
it.
You know, a private club, dance hall or something like beach music club.
I don't know
or
that we
something.
want a private club in what's supposed to be a public.
When we say private club, it'd be a club where you have to have membership.
Right. How do you get to be a member?
Pay or
Like a cigar lounge, sometimes they have private memberships for cigar lounges.
So only members would be able to get in?
Well, I mean, you can pay a one-day pass or you can pay a membership.
I don't know.
And I know that's something you have a passion for in that building.
I mean, you know.
Well, we have cigar shop on here, so I guess that wouldn't cover
that
like
different?
a cigar lounge.
I don't believe a cigar shop would fall under the same requirement. You're not necessarily able to smoke in a cigar shop. You can smoke in a cigar lounge. Community center, I mean, you know, same thing. I mean, I guess you could bring people in and host events and different things like that if you were going to rent out a unit for,
Yeah, but if you have a banquet hall, I think we can nix community center.
you know, yeah.
Museum?
Depends on what you categorize as a museum. I mean, they've got a tobacco museum in South Hill, Virginia that contributes to the community. You know, they brought in artifacts and different things like that people came in and donated and.
Is that falling under
They charge a fee to get in?
Yeah, they have. I mean, how successful is it? I don't know. Am I going to put a museum in there? Probably not. I mean, again, we looked at this just trying to see I didn't want to limit myself. I mean, we're being asked to limit ourselves, so I was just like, well, what could possibly work? I don't intend on putting a museum there, no.
Okay.
Meeting facility, conference center, I guess that's the same thing. Place of worship,
No.
No.
yeah, you know, okay. One of the tenants that we've actually got that has a contract on the table right now, the only way that he was even able to submit an application was because of that, just for what that's worth. Theater, indoor, outdoor. I don't intend on putting a movie theater inside either. I think outdoor, though, there's probably going to be a likelihood that there's going to be a outdoor movie theater or don't y'all do outdoor
Yeah, but
video?
that's like a special event, I think, that we would do something.
Okay. So how does that work when you want to do special events like that and it's just a one-off or once a month or whatever? I mean, does that have to go before the town anytime that the town does it or if a private citizen does it?
He's coming.
So good evening again. So the movies that we do don't fall under the town special event permit. We don't take those through those. We do get a license through a company to show those and just treat it like we do some of our other programs. Don't know if that answers your question,
So
but.
if Michael wanted to do a movie, you would assist with that? And we could have maybe like a town Junction movie night?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can go through the same process, same company to do that. And,
Can we get included to be on the safe side if we're doing it?
We can. I mean,
I would recommend that.
Yeah, I mean, we're already doing it.
I guess,
Follow our own rules.
Just for outdoor.
Yeah, I don't really know what the difference is. You know, it's common for people to do it in parks or public spaces across the state and across the country. So I don't know necessarily on the zoning side what's required there to do that.
okay, so we can keep that one on.
So we would just do outdoor, not indoor, correct?
Well, hey, if he wants to have a theater inside, we can do that too. Sometimes those restaurants have a little theater restaurant thing going on.
They do movie night at Lacorum.
There you go.
So what do you envision as a convenience store? Was that just something you threw under too, or is there a vision for that?
I mean, like a Western apparel store, like, you know,
I was thinking like
cast
7-Eleven.
iron
Oh,
pots.
so not soft drinks and
No,
and
it's not
nabs.
going to be like no. We've got a convenience store on the corner. I don't think that'd be good
How do we
business.
define convenience store, do we?
Retail land use.
But how do we define, like when I think convenience store, I think like a gas station supermarket, like
When we say convenience store, we would say convenience like you're thinking of 7-Eleven, a
Yes.
mini mart, places like that.
Okay, so I think we can get rid of that because
Yeah.
what you're envisioning is not that.
Probably
Bus-
should have sat down and gone through this before
Probably,
with
yeah.
everybody.
Might have been useful.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, bus passenger shelter, I mean, again, if that's, I mean, I don't think you have transit coming through anytime soon, right?
No, but we can readdress that if we do.
Okay.
So same with the
Yep, same
passenger
thing for
train.
transportation terminal. I do think having a room that could be leased for continuing education or something, that's not a bad idea.
I think if you wanted to do something like, you know, cooking classes or things like that, like where if we did like vocational, what are you saying?
Isn't that banquet hall?
If we, it depends on just which way Michael wants to do it. If he wants to rent out Suite J to Nash Community College, then he needs that use. But if he wants to, where they got a long-term contract, but if it's just a one-off where they say, hey, Michael, can we rent one of the buildings tonight to do a real estate, pre-license class or real estate continuing education class,
Then we don't
then
even
you
have-
can fall back under that meeting facility that he has.
Right, yeah,
So
I
it's
think we
kind of
can get rid
whichever
of
way you,
school.
if you're looking long-term, we need it. If it's somewhere they just call you on an at-needs basis, you got that little
Like,
gray
I
area
don't,
that you can fall
yeah,
in.
I just can't see how having a full unit leased out for the purpose of continuing education fits with,
And I think I see his vision, because if you go in Wake County, those little shopping center places, Wake Community College has those little satellite schools everywhere in those areas.
Keep it, strike it.
I think we should strike it.
Okay.
I think so.
So if we're gonna do continuing education for like, because I gotta do continuing education for my general contractor's license, plumbing license, mechanical license, and there's professional businesses that rent those facilities to be able to host those events. We're saying that we can do those under a different criteria.
You got meeting facility and you
Yes,
got
sir.
banquet hall, so you can
And
do it.
conference center, you have
But those are
meeting facility,
temporary
conference center.
uses, and you're allowed to use that as a temporary use.
Okay, so, not trying to beat a dead horse here. If there was a firm, Joe Blow, general contracting school, and he wanted to rent a unit out, and he wanted to have those continuing education classes there, at that point, I'd have to come back here and get approval then.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. If it's a one-off where you come in once a month,
So a business were to come and do, any type of continuing education like that, that's what we're talking about. Because that was my mentality.
No, she's right. We were, because it did list in here, elementary school, middle school, high school,
Yeah.
where you were working with the Nash County Public School System, and we are
We've
envisioning.
been in conversation, but, again, nothing signed, but yeah.
So I guess if we were to talk about limiting it to not public, I don't know.
I mean, the school doesn't bring us any of those things we're
Yeah, I
talking
still
about.
don't see how that fits in.
I mean, public schools, they don't pay taxes.
But even if we did like vocational, even if we did something like that, I just don't see how it fits in, other than like the one-offs happening. All right, let's circle back to school.
All right, next. Winery, we got manufacturing, assembly, processing, distribution. Just strike that. Distilleries, brewery, cigar shop, winery, leather, allied products, manufacturing, veterinarian clinic. I don't, frankly, see a veterinarian clinic going there.
So we'll get rid of
Or
clinic and
hospital,
veterinary
yeah.
hospital.
Office financial services, building trade office.
So those, I'm okay with having, some of those take up that, but I want to prevent the entire thing from becoming office space.
Right.
So I know you're not a big fan of limiting, but is there like a reasonable number that we can put on here to make sure that there's not 10 units of, office space and then a restaurant?
I mean, I just don't want to put myself in a position where I've got half this building unleased. I mean, a lot of this has to do with, that note's gonna kick in and that thing's $10,000 a month. And if I am constantly limiting myself to where I cannot rent because of these restrictions, it's gonna hurt me. Like, I gotta get this building rented. And I'm just looking at, I'm good with, doing more restrictions and limiting myself, but if there's an office retail or somebody that wants to open an insurance office, somebody that wants to open a real estate office, if I've got, I got a signed contract with a restaurant that's coming, so that's check, right? That's check one. I've got a barber, got a cosmetologist, but yeah, I really, that's not my intent. Obviously, I wanted to put different kind of tenants in there, but we get 12 months down the road and I still got 6 vacancies because the economy's taking a turn. We got to be a little bit flexible.
how many suites do you have rented now?
13 total.
You got 13 total?
13 total suites.
13 total suites.
No, how
And
many,
of those
how many you
suites,
have signed
Rented?
of
contracts
those
with?
suites right now, we've got 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 suites leased right now. We've got 3 on the table to be signed.
Which will give you 8.
Which give you 8, which really only leaves 2 for a destination style restaurant, which the intent is to hold out in that as long as I can. And then I got 2, that leaves really 2 more tenants left, 2 more spaces left. We've got a 4th that is a tap house that's interested in coming, but it's all negotiations, it's preliminary.
See, I appreciate that you have to do what's best for you because you got to make money, but still we have to go back to this agreement, and we have to be good stewards of the land, of the money the town spent.
Sure.
So you know, it's a give and take. I mean,
that if somebody created a business there though, like an insurance agent or Edward Jones or whoever, I mean, that is contributing to the economic growth and development of the community. They are creating jobs. They are paying taxes. I mean, I think that's part of what we're talking about.
It is, but I still think this can very easily just become a business center. If we could just, I mean, even if we said 6 of the units out of the 13 it's limited to, I think that's more than fair as far as what, otherwise, how do we prevent this from happening? Like, say 6 months from now, we can come back and readdress it, but I just want to make sure that it does not become one single restaurant that's serving a business park. Office space.
I don't really have an answer. I mean, y'all want to tell me how I need to rezone this building? I'll just do it.
Well,
I mean, that's what I feel like.
Well, would you be agreeable to limiting the number of office suites in there to 6?
Well, that's what I'm asking, if we could.
Yeah, I'd take exception to that.
So.
It sounds like you already have enough signed leases already that you're beyond that. You said you had 8.
Yeah.
I mean, we all agree that the intent was not to make this office space. You're saying you're not going to make it office space, but you're also saying you won't limit the number of office spaces that you rent.
Yeah. Yeah.
when I read this agreement, there's no downturn economy clause in here. I mean, I'm not trying to be ugly. There's not. And so, I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just, we paid for a lot of things on that property, and we have to make sure that we're getting what was agreed upon. And that's why we're here.
That's what I'm saying. If you just want to tell me how I need to rezone it, that way we can get this off our plate. I mean, man, I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to get it right so I can move on. If y'all want to come up with a list and tell me how you want me to rezone my building, then that's what we can do.
Well, pay us back the money that we spent, and what you can do anything you want to.
If we need to do that, we can figure out something.
I'm not trying to be a jerk. I mean, we have an agreement.
We just talked about how it's going to contribute to the economic growth and development. If I put a business in there that's creating jobs, that's paying taxes, that is doing exactly what we talked about. I've already said we've got a contract signed with a restaurant and a bar. Okay, so we're bringing a restaurant to the Junction. I've got 2 other units that we're trying to hold out to do the same thing. Talked about a destination restaurant, right? I got a signed contract with a cosmetologist. I got a signed contract with a CEO development business. I mean, I really wish we got together and talked about this before it got to this.
Well, if you feel more comfortable, we could table it for tonight and have that discussion, Michael.
Yeah, that might be what we need to do.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we table this until we can get together and have some resolve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll table it until we can get together and come up with what benefits both. The next item on our agenda is Ordinance 225-12, RZ-2025-02, rezoning of 1520 Oak Level Road and Parcel 2.
Good evening once again, Mayor and Council. This evening, 3MR Limited Partnership is requesting 1520 Oak Level Road and parcel 350396 in the town limits and adjacent undeveloped 4.76 acre tract along Oak Level Road in Nashville, ETJ, be rezoned from A1 Agriculture 1 to Business 1 Highway Business. Purposes of rezoning request is to allow the owner developer to utilize the land for commercial purposes. The applicant has hired Mr. Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineering this evening to present the rezone application. If you turn to page 257 and 258 in your packet, question number 1, I think we've already read out loud, so we just can go directly into the answer from the past 2 cases. The town of Nashville has recently rezoned the Dollar General just down Oak Level Road to B1 to 2 other existing businesses. Use currently exists along the section of Oak Level. Question number 2 of our agenda packet for the application. Explain how the rezoning request will be updated to the existing orders if there's any inconsistency with the town of Nashville comprehensive plan. The zoning ordinance will be updated to show this property as B1. Explain why the rezoning request will be appropriate, beneficial, aid in the general public's interest. As population increases, the need for additional commercial service increases as well. This rezoning will provide a location for those future businesses. Explain whether the rezoning request will adversely affect adjoining properties. The proposed use is consistent with the recent zone parcel and existing use along this section of level. And number 5, briefly explain the accessibility impact aquatic public facility service, fire safety, infrastructure, parks and recs. A proposed business use will not be placed in undue burden of public facilities is typical and not high water use. Emergency calls to business are rare. 260 is the meets and bounds of the property. 261 is where we will start the agenda report. As we stated earlier, 3MR Limited Partnership is requested this rezone. They have hired Mr. Kevin Varnell for Stocks Engineering to represent them tonight. They're asking to rezone 1520 Oak Level Road in the town limits and parcel 346858, a vacant lot in ETJ, from A1 to Business 1. If you look at your zoning land use, north of the property is R10, residential. South is B1, business. East is A1, vacant lot, telephone hub for Brightspeed. West is A1 and B1, farmland and business. I think we already established what the agricultural zoning district was during the first rezoning for the property that Ms. McBeth had. The proposed one is Business 1. The B1 zoning district is defined as a certain commercial area which provides a wide selection of convenience, comparison shopping centers, furniture showrooms, and for personal service, and orderly arrangement of retail facilities, parking and other amenities. This district is commercially located at the intersection of one or more highways along thoroughfares. The district may also provide retail and personal service for the benefit of residents in nearby areas and non-residents, including such such as warehousing compatible with primary uses. Our 2021 National Comp Plan has this property slated as highway services. Preferred use in our highway service is retail, professional service, restaurant, office, and hotels. The consideration the town has to think about when we make these rezonings. Highway services are located in close proximity to the entrance into the town and should reflect a positive image of the town. Agricultural features and vegetation plans should be used to prevent blank links of building facades. The site facility size, building interests, and features should be pedestrian oriented. Parking located in front of the facility should be minimized to extent property. I think we know everything that's allowed in the B1 zone district, so there's no reason to go through that. As we described, this is a 4.5 acre tract owned by 3MLR in 1520 Oak Level Road. If you turn to page 264, the project history, Kevin Varnell with Stocks Engineers submitted an application on January 1st, 2025. 1520 Oak Level Road is currently housed in the town of Nashville Fire Station number 2. The property is being served by town water and sewer by the town of Nashville. The public hearing notice letters were mailed out to approximately 84 property owners within a 500-foot radius on February the 5th. The public hearing notice was posted on the town's website on February the 5th. The rezoning sign was posted on the property February the 4th. The legal notice was advertised in the Nashville Graphic on February the 13th, 20th, and 27th for the planning board and town council public hearing meetings. The front door of town hall was posted on February the 5th. Same thing with the Harold D. Cooley Library, February the 5th, in the Parks Recreation Center. The subject property is not located within a floodplain. The subject property is located in the Stony Creek, Tar River Reservoir, Tar River Watershed, and Upper Stony Creek, Lower Saponi Creek Subwatershed. The subject property is not located within the NCDEQ Water Supply Watershed. The town of Nashville future land use map has existing property as low density, 1520 Oak Level Road, medium density, the vacant lot adjacent to it. The planning board of the town of Nashville held a public hearing on this matter on February 25th. During the hearing, no one from the general public spoke for or against the rezoning request. That evening, the planning board voted in favor to approve the rezoning request of 1520 Oak Level Road and parcel 346858 from A1 Agriculture 1 to Business 1 Highway Business, with the motion by Board Member Eddie Thomas, second by Board Member Walter Harper. The motion passed unanimously. Currently, our table of allowed use allows 21 permitted uses, 37 permitted uses with additional developmental standards, and 2 special use permits in the B1 zoning district. Reasonableness of spot zoning. Number 1, the request is not spot zoning because the subject property will be rezoned from agricultural use and developed for commercial use. Our future land use map. Number 2, our future land use map has this property slated for development of such which being designated for low and medium density residential. If the planning board designates this use as B1, we'll be going against our future land use map recommendations. But by allowing this use, you will be given an opportunity for future business growth along the Oak Level Road corridors. That's what we told the planning board that evening. Same thing with the town council. The town of Nashville B1 zone district is the most intensive for these types of uses. The subject property is in harmony with this use request since the property does have road frontage off Oak Level Road. Statement consistently wrote by the planning board. If you turn to page number page 273 in your packet, you can see that even that the planning board did write a statement of consistency approving the rezoning request. As we stated, board member Eddie Thomas made the motion. It was seconded by board member Walter Harper, and the rezoning did pass unanimously. Mayor, that is what we have for the staff report this evening for 1520 Oak Level Road and the adjoining property adjacent beside it. Mr. 3MR Limited Partnership has hired Mr. Kevin Varnell. We can open up the public hearing, then we can yield to Mr. Varnell, Mayor.
Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So made.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this rezoning issue?
Move to
Do I hear a
close.
motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So do I hear a motion for us to approve the rezoning of 1520 Oak Level Road and parcel 2346858?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Next.
Next.
Good night. This is from Yvette Hinton. It's our tax collector, and she just wants us to approve the advertisement of the people, the unpaid taxes for 2024 in the paper.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
One thing before the vote, could that motion say that between now and publication, which will be later, anybody that's on that list, if they pay between now and when it goes to the.
It comes off.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
come on.
we do that. Are there any other announcements or questions?
The only thing I have, Mayor and Council, is, the council chose to have some day meetings. One of those is March 19th. That's also when we had scheduled to have our council budget retreat. With having canceled our January, February day meetings, we have a backlog of items for the council to address. I don't think we can get it all done on the 19th and still have the budget retreat for the council. So I'm looking, staff is recommending we have a separate meeting for that. Any ideas on when you would like to do that?
I think March 26th would be great.
Didn't say March 26th?
Yeah.
That's for the budget retreat.
Right, that is for the budget retreat. I think, is that okay with the council? I think
Yes.
we've all agreed on that. Okay?
All right, that's all we got, Mayor.
Any other comments or questions? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Maybe just one quick question. I appreciate the council's growing with staff on these conditional rezonings. It's a learning experience. I think it's great that we eliminated having a lot of quasi-judicial and evidentiary hearings because it allows the council to talk with the developers and the proposed rezoning applicants, and it allows the public to ask questions and get answers without having to be
Sworn in and all this stuff.
sworn in but, you know, again, tonight's just a little frustration and growing pain. We'll get these much smoother and they'll go much quicker, I promise.
And I think what would be very helpful, and I talked to you, Sean, earlier about this, having the TRC review any sort of rezone prior to. And anytime that we can meet, especially when we all don't agree with what's being proposed, like the list, if we can try to hash that out prior to, so we're not doing it at a public meeting,
I
that would be
think
helpful.
our applicant tonight would have appreciated that too. So,
Yes.
like I said, growing pains with this conditional rezoning, appreciate your understanding and your patience.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.